Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open, and it's Friday, July 18th. I am sorry I am a couple minutes late. Had a couple things to finish up in the morning, but we are here. We are live. It has been a pretty incredible week. It has been one of those weeks where you should be happy to at all be invested in the equity markets. It is one of those pre-markets that we're getting right now that also I think one would be pretty happy to feel they're invested in the equity markets. Folks, we got S&P 500 at all-time highs in the pre-markets. And we have one name that a lot of us have covered for a while that is also breaking all-time highs in the pre-markets. Robinhood, folks. There is a reason for this, and we'll talk about why. If you guys followed some of my tweets last night, you probably would see the reason. It's up 3%, 108.93. We hit 109. I mean, this is just incredible. This is, it really is just incredible. I mean, Robinhood is having its Palantir moment. That's what it feels like. S&P inclusion has not happened yet. But what it feels like is a generational company that is being embraced by Wall Street, being embraced by new elements of retail, and the entire market kind of coming to the conclusion that this is it. This is the one. And as a result, it is getting a premium. And there are actual catalysts that are becoming tailwinds that will lead to more growth, which is what Wall Street ultimately pays for. 108.85 on Robinhood. We'll talk more about what is going on with that stock. Ethereum, 3,600. The Ethereum treasuries are absolutely loving it. BMNR in the pre-markets, that's up 10%. You got SPED yesterday. That had a little bit of a crappy day. That's still down about 1%. And then BTBT, that one in the pre-markets, is up about 4%. We'll talk more about that. But Ethereum having a great day. Webull broke out yesterday after we got some news around Bitcoin and IBKR, which is another brokerage, had great earnings. That one's up about 1.73%. You got Big Bear AI. That's up 2.8% in the pre-markets. NVIDIA is at 173.75. Bitcoin just below 120. Ethereum right here up 5.96%. And we got Palantir, which is just below 154. We did hit 155 yesterday. 154, or actually we're above that, 154.67 in the pre-markets. It is one of those weeks where you're just like, oh, I'm invested in some very important companies, and those companies every day are getting another 1 or 2%. Again, you're lucky if you get 8 to 10% a year. Over the past couple of years, it's been 15 to 20% on average. But this week, people are up, especially if you're in options, 400, 500%. I mean, some of the screenshots I'm seeing are just like, it has been an incredible week. An incredible week. So it is one of those shirts. I knew I would get some shit for wearing these shirts. It's a flower shirt. It's summer, dude. It's hot as hell. I don't have any AC in Jersey. We got to embrace the floweriness of July as it is summer. But no, dude, it is just an incredible market. And we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of headlines. Even with all the tariff stuff that is going on, this market wants to go higher. This market wants to continue maintaining its premium, particularly because of earnings. We have some more earnings we'll talk about. We'll talk about Netflix earnings yesterday, which were not phenomenal. They were definitely not horrible. So stock could be down 2-3% or be flat. I don't think it's too crazy, but they showed off that they're not slowing down by any sense of the imagination. And if the rest of the big tech earnings can keep up with that, along with retailers and financials, which already did great, then I think this can be a strong Q2 as well. I think it can be a strong Q2 as well. More Gavin, wow, thank you for the 449 euros. Did you send that? Well, yeah, you sent that before the stream even started. Amit, thank you for all your market coverage. You have given so much to this community. I just want to share my appreciation. I am super long BMNR, given my understanding of Ethereum and how these treasury companies are growing ETH per share. I suggest this goes towards BMNR, but feel free to do as you wish. Grateful. Thank you so much for the super. That is a lot of money. Deeply appreciate that. Thank you for that super chat. As we get into this market open, and thank you for being part of the show. You know, yeah, let's buy some BMNR. To be honest, dude, I gotta say I'm getting a little Ethereum pilled, is if that's what you want to call it. I mean, I've been doing my own personal DD on Ethereum. Now, I don't know if that means BMNR or SPED or BTBT is the way to get exposure. It is one way. I think Robinhood, quite frankly, is another way to get exposure to Ethereum. And part of its run is probably because of all the crypto legislation and Ethereum being traded on Robinhood. But I can't deny there is an argument here that I'm starting to see on Ethereum. And so whatever way you want to get exposure, we don't know which one is going to work out over the next 10 years. But if Ethereum, the underlying, works out over the next 10 years, then I think there's an argument for some of these ETH treasuries to not be bad either. So yeah, we'll buy some BMNR as soon as the market opens. We'll put was it 10 shares? Yeah, we'll put 10 shares on the order for BMNR, and we'll just buy that. Also, we'll just, we'll support Tom Lee. Quite frankly, I'll do it right now. We'll do 10 shares right here. The thing is, Tom Lee bought 10 shares. Or Tom Lee, he didn't buy 10 shares. He bought $200,000 worth of BMNR at 44 yesterday. There you go. We got it. We got 10 shares of BMNR. So Tom Lee, after this thing has 10x, it was at $4 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 44. It's at 45 right here. It was at 44 yesterday. After hours, he disclosed that he bought $200,000 worth of it, 4,400 shares or 4,500 shares at $44. So, I mean, the fact that he's putting his money where his mouth is and he thinks Ethereum's going higher and that the ability to capitalize on it via an ETH treasury is something that makes sense to him, it does give you more confidence. Now, does that mean it's going to work out? I have no idea. But he put out a long thread yesterday on Twitter saying implicitly and explicitly, BMNR will be the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. And if you believe that, you kind of go along for the ride. And if you don't, then you find other ways to get exposure if you believe in Ethereum. But we will have that deep dive on Wednesday, and we'll go deeper into it next week. And we'll keep going from there. So more, Gavin, thank you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being part of the channel. Okay, so I think let's get started on a bunch of different headlines we have. Again, S&P 500 in the pre-markets trying to crack 629. We did hit 6,300 on SPX yesterday, which again was another all-time high. And it's really just been an incredible week. SBET premium options opened up yesterday. Okay, so if SBET's getting options, that means BMNR is going to get options soon. And dude, that's only going to make this market even juicier, bro. When you have all these people buying and selling calls and puts in this market, I mean, I don't know if Tom Lee will create the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. I know that Tom Lee is someone who, in my opinion, is trustworthy enough to believe that he cares about a long-term vision. And second of all, everything he's doing is backed up by data. He's not doing this to collect management fees. He has his own ETF where he invests in public stock. I think he's doing this for the long-term thesis on Ethereum, which then ultimately would be a massive gain for him as the chairman of BitMine if they can leverage themselves against BitMine. Does that mean it's worth the premium on NAV? All that, these are all the idiosyncratic questions that come behind investing in a treasury strategy for any asset. But it all depends on Ethereum, and it seems that he is very, very bullish on Ethereum. Oh, Gavin, goodness gracious. Thank you again. You do not have to do this. I really, really appreciate you guys. You do not have to do this. Another 10 shares. All right, we'll do it 20 shares. We'll do it. We'll buy another 10 shares. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then Triple V's out here giving 200. I think he's back in the States if he's giving dollars instead of pounds. Triple V, thank you. Appreciate you being here, Triple V. All right, there you go. We got the next 10. There you go. 20 deep in BMNR. 20 deep in BMNR. Who knows? Maybe I may get a legit position. I'm still doing my research on Ethereum. Maybe that becomes a legit position. We'll see. I will keep you guys updated. But Triple V, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. Hopefully your overseas trip was good. And Gavin, thank you again. You do not need to do that, but I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat as well. Amidst Gentlemen Club. Oh my gosh. I appreciate it, guy. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot. It absolutely means a lot. So thank you so much for the super chats. And yeah, we put it into BMNR and appreciate you guys being with me here all week. I know this week has been one of those weeks where everyone's seeing all-time highs on the portfolio. I am as well. It's kind of hard when Palantir and Hood are ripping like this and NVIDIA to not see all-time highs. So it's just one of those weeks. It is one of those weeks. And again, we go through the pain of the weeks in April for the gains like this in the weeks of July, right? Like this is the nature of investment. We go through that gut-wrenching. You see your account drop by 30, 40%. At least my biggest drawdown in April was 36%. For the moments where you can be up much more than that. And, that's why we ultimately do this at the end of the day. And that is the nature of investing. By the way, real quick, before we get into some stories, Grabby Grab might be trying to do its thing. 542 on Grabby Grab. Got the 525 close yesterday. I don't know. We got earnings coming up. Obviously, I think it's undervalued. I have no issue buying more at 542. I'm not afraid at all of these prices. The only reason it's up so much on the charts from 3 months is because it fell to 340 in April, but that was because of tariffs. I don't think that was like a real reason it should have been down. So if we can get a 550 break and a close, I think that would be very, very bullish. But it does seem like we're getting some momentum on Grab. So Grab right there, 543. That is up 4% in the pre-markets. All right, cool. So let's get into some of these headlines. First of all, let's just start real quick with Robinhood. Why is it running? The SEC last night, the chairman, Paul Atkins, he said that the SEC is considering a tokenization or an innovation exemption for tokenization, AKA they are trying to deregulate the entire tokenized industry. Companies like Robinhood and Coinbase that are going to tokenize Wall Street, which are like stocks, bonds, real estate, etc. That's going to take a long time to play out, but Robinhood already introduced tokenization of stocks, 200 of them in Europe, and some private companies. Paul Atkins, who is way different than Gary Gensler, said, hey, the SEC, we are considering exemptions for companies like Robinhood so that they can keep moving faster to promote tokenizations. Robinhood literally introduced tokenization 2 weeks ago, so obviously pretty good timing. And when the SEC is your friend, when they want to make it easier for you to tokenize, and tokenization is a part of the business that will expand massively across the entire world to every single jurisdiction, not just the United States, that is a major, major tailwind for Robinhood. So that piece of news coming out was very, very important last night. And last night, Rob, 105.50, then boom, it jumped up to 107, then 108, then 109, based on this idea that the SEC was going to clear up some of the regulations. The other reason that Robinhood, Coinbase, and a lot of these stocks are moving is because, folks, crypto got passed in the House last night.
Those crypto bills, the one on market structure that will go to the Senate, the one on banning the central bank digital currency that will also go to the Senate, and of course the one on stable coins, and that one is headed to the White House tomorrow to President Trump's desk. We're already hearing that there is expected to be a ceremony to sign it. That one is a first of a kind rules of the road bill for stable coins, and of course this comes as the crypto industry has long lobbied for these. You saw them sink almost $200 million into lawmakers' campaigns in the 2024 election in hopes of moving these bills. And you've already heard them announce that they have $141 million so far for the upcoming midterms. And they do it in a bipartisan manner, building coalitions. And you can see today it is paid off for them. Of course, we're going to have to continue to follow that market structure bill as it goes to the Senate. That is the one that a lot of these crypto groups tell me is really key for them to get passed. But today they're celebrating stablecoin as a win and with strong bipartisan support for both the stablecoin and the market structure bill.
This is very bullish crypto. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got the entire United States government that is getting ready to support the ecosystem for how crypto is going to ultimately be playing out, then you're going to get a lot more people. Robinhood right here, 109.42 in the pre-markets. You're going to get a lot more people saying, all right, if this is going to be a friendlier regulatory environment for these companies, then you have more investors that can say, we want exposure to these companies in terms of how they operate. And so very, very nice to see on the overall crypto industry. And I think a lot more people are getting excited for it, which is why we are getting some momentum. Another reason why crypto stocks are, or at least the brokerage stocks are getting some momentum is because of Ethereum. We talked about it. Here's a couple of stats on Ethereum as per yesterday. Folks, BlackRock's Ethereum ETF, 546 million of inflows. Bitcoin's ETF, I think that has about 50 billion under custody. It has had $1 billion days. Last week, it had $2 billion days back to back. I mean, you're seeing a ton of momentum in regards to these ETFs that have been able to capture the imagination of investors, and then they give them a secure way to invest via something like BlackRock, and you get more inflows. Well, the 10-day inflow streak on Ethereum is 2.1 billion. That has never happened since these Ethereum ETFs came out, which I think were about, if I'm not wrong, 9 months ago. They were a little bit after the BlackRock ETFs came out. But we've never had a 10-day inflow streak of $2.1 billion. So, I mean, why is Ethereum up at 3,600 from 2,500 last week? Well, you've got institutional investors and retail investing through these ETFs and buying the asset in of itself. Then you've got the treasury strategies. Tom Lee's BM&R bought 300,000 Ethereum in total. So now they have $1 billion on the balance sheet. SBET has about 280,000. And that's going to lead to a lot of buying pressure. That's going to lead to a lot of buying pressure, which is also obviously good for Hood as well, because there's more volatility on Ethereum, which is one of the things that could be helping it in the broader trading volumes for the month of June. So, or for the month of July, and which ultimately will be good for Q3. You're just seeing a lot of momentum on these names. Ethereum right here in the pre-markets, Robinhood 109.30. Grab right here is at 546, and Ethereum is at 3630.5. 36.29. It's getting its momentum. It is getting its momentum. Gavin, this is, dude, I appreciate you. I mean, if you're going to send it for BMNR, yeah, we'll buy some more BMNR. All right, we're buying 10 more shares because Gavin wanted to send $1,500 freaking dollars in the super chats. All right, there you go. We got 10 more at 45.60. So now we have 30 shares. You guys are going to make me turn BMNR into a real position, bro. We have 30 shares at 45.78. We have 30 shares at 45.78. KC, thank you for the 50 Canadian. Here's 50 Canadian dollars for BMNR. Tom Lee's your boy. It only makes sense to throw your hat into the ring. I'm the guy that said I had low six figures and these treasuries took me over 1.2 million in the past 3 weeks. Thank you. My goodness, bro. All right, we'll buy another one. There you go. Now we have 31 shares of BMNR, 45.78 average. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. And congrats. I heard a lot of these stories this week, 6 figures into $1 million or people crossing $1 million for the first time. It's just incredible stuff. It's just incredible stuff. And the Prince, thank you for the 50 bucks. You exposed me to Palantir at 7. I sold half my position at 6 figure in profits. Thank you, Amit. Congratulations. I mean, Palantir, 154, incredible momentum. I think, honestly, the story really is just beginning with less than 800 customers. And I think it is going to be one of those companies that we already know it's a generational company, but when they put up the growth to even further prove it's a generational company, it could be one of those big ones. And for those that bought at 7 and get to sell at 154, I mean, the fact that you believed in it when no one believed in it, that's the whole point of investing, right? You buy low, sell high. And if you get to sell really high because you believed when it's really low, then it is the beauty of compounding. So thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being part of the channel, and congrats on the profits. Okay, cool. So that was some of the headlines around Ethereum and Robinhood. Grab right here, 546, 545 in the pre-markets. That's up about 4%. Netflix right here down 2.5. So Netflix had a really good earnings. We'll cover it a little bit more in a bit. I shouldn't say really good. It was good, but it wasn't really, really, really good. And that's why the stock's not moving. I don't know if when the market opens, this thing just pumps, because at the end of the day, it's Netflix and it's a great company. And, you know, the earnings didn't justify a sell-off, but they were priced for perfection. They weren't like, oh my God, blow the socks off type of quarter. And so I could see it down 2, 3, 4%. I could also see it flat, but we'll talk about their numbers in a bit as well. Now, 2 things I want to bring to everyone's attention. We saw this on the market close yesterday, and I think it is worth bringing up. I saw a new stat, and I saw an old stat that some of you guys might not know. BitOrigin, this is a ticker symbol BTOG. They were up 90% yesterday. They're up in the pre-markets right here. Another 24% at 78 cents. This is a very small cap company. The reason this stock is going crazy is because they have secured a $500 million convertible note to launch a Dogecoin treasury strategy. Yes, you heard that correct. A Dogecoin treasury strategy. I don't like seeing this stuff because it feels very toppy. Obviously, a public company launching a treasury strategy to buy Dogecoin. But quite frankly, I've come to the conclusion, if Dogecoin is going to, you know, do anything positive ever and go up, then this company has $500 million worth of it, and that's fine. And if Dogecoin goes to zero, and it has no utility, and this company's treasury strategy fails, then that has zero impact on NVIDIA, zero impact on Microsoft, zero impact on Palantir and Robinhood. Like all these generational companies that are ultimately putting up strong earnings growth. If a company goes to zero because they invested in Dogecoin as a treasury strategy, I mean, the founder literally says, like, we like the meme-ness of it, then it is what it is. I mean, there are some parts of this market, and Chris and I were talking about it yesterday on the close, that obviously feel frothy, but at the end of the day, that frothy nature of it hopefully doesn't take down the entire market. It's just a segment of the market. But I do agree, it obviously feels very, very frothy. Now, this one feels a little bit worse than the Dogecoin thing to me. This is insanity. Retail zero DTE option trading is about to hit 2/3 of all daily option volumes. The market is literally a casino, is the caption right here. As you can see, 0-day option volumes reached a historic high this quarter. 67% of all the daily options that are traded, which probably is close to, call it, I would say at least probably 50 to 70 million option contracts traded per day across every brokerage. 67% of that is 0 DTE. Now, you can't just say that's Hood either. You can't, because like Hood doesn't have the biggest share of the option trading market, right? Hood has a good share, but like there's a lot of other brokers out there that people trade options on. This is a phenomena across Hood, Schwab, Fidelity, IBKR, all those brokerages. And this is also why IBKR just had some monster earnings. They had record revenues, and that's because people are trading a lot. IBKR right here, up 7% in the pre-markets. Now, does this feel kind of scary? Yeah, it feels a little scary because it's like, okay, that's a lot of gambling. Zero DTE, I don't know how else to say it's a lot of gambling. I mean, you could have people that have a certain viewpoint on a stock, and then ultimately they believe where they think the stock is going to go. But to believe you think the stock is going to go up or down in that day, within those couple of hours, it just means risk sentiment is very high. And that's great for the brokers. I mean, that chart is really bullish for Robinhood because that means there's a lot of volatility on the platform. But that also means there are some people that when the market doesn't go their direction, if it doesn't, then they're going to lose some money there. And the question is, how does that affect their broader portfolios? It could also mean some people have a lot of play money because they bought Open Door at 70 cents. Open Door now is at 170. They took their profits and now they're gambling with some zero DTEs. That's fine. It's the concern if people sell their NVIDIA to go gamble on DTEs. And I don't really think that's happening. We don't have any evidence that that's happening. So if people are just using play money or some of the money they made off trading some of these momentum names, and then they're putting it into more momentum plays, whether those work or not, ultimately that's not the worst thing in the world in the context of just how the broader market is thinking, or how the broader market participants are thinking of risk appetite. DTE is days to expiry. So zero DTE means it expires that day. Zero DTE means it expires like that day. And a lot of it really comes on the S&P 500. A lot of people are trading zero DTE options on the S&P 500. And if a lot of that S&P 500 DTE option volume is bullish and the market continues to go money on these options, the question just is, how that volatility ultimately plays out over the coming months as well. So, yeah. That's what we got with those two headlines. And I guess you could say those are two of the toppy headlines. You got a company starting a Dogecoin treasury, and you got another company, or not another company, another stat that shows how much retail volume is coming in, or not just retail volume, but overall volume of zero DTE options. And it is indicative of the current market that we have right now. So that's what we got there. Here's another update as well. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he did sell 166 million of shares yesterday. He's now sold 3.2 billion over the last 2.5 weeks. He has 1.8 billion left. 1.8 billion left to sell on his 5 billion of shares that he filed with the SEC to ultimately start selling. And yeah, you do have Bezos that's taking some profits right here in Amazon. So isn't that mainly from India? Well, India, I found out this stat in October. My uncle showed me this. Yeah, India India is the largest country in the world for option selling. So I don't know the demographic breakdowns on the zero DTEs, but I mean, it might be a lot of people from India trading options. But overall, it just means the market, whether it's anyone trading it across the world or trading it inside of the domestic United States, there's a lot of risk appetite for these zero DTE options that we are seeing as well. So there you go. All right, let's check some other prices that we have in the pre-market. SoFi broke 22 yesterday, which was incredible to see. Open Doors up a little bit, 179. SoFi 22.39. I think she wants to break out, folks. 22.39 on SoFi. Palantir 154 in the pre-markets. Grab right here at 545. If we can get even at 530 close today, I would be very excited for Grab. We did get to 548 in the pre-markets again. If people, I got a lot of questions last night. Is it a buy right here? Yes. I think fair value is closer to 750, and I wouldn't be afraid of this. I don't think it's a rug pull. Now, could it drop back down to like 450? Sure. I just don't necessarily see the catalyst for that unless they have a crappy earnings. But I think the street's getting excited because they think, all right, they're going to have good earnings. And we talked about all the regional consolidation and for option inflows and all that stuff over the past couple of days for why it's getting some of this bullish momentum. So yeah, I do not think this is expensive here at all. I think 750 is where it gets closer to fair value. And Grab right there is up about 3.8%. Robinhood, I think she's going to break 110 today, 109.25. My price target has kind of changed to 120 over the past couple of days. Last buy I did was 103. I do think that with S&P inclusion, we get to 120. So let's see today if there is a shot at 110. Webull kind of lost some momentum. It was at 1550 last night. Now it's at 1462. I did have covered calls this week for 1450 if I held my shares, but I didn't. I sold them for Robinhood. So maybe this one expands, but that one was up a lot more in the pre-markets last night or in the after hours. Black Sky's down 20%. They did some dilution, as they should. Stock's up a lot. They diluted by about $120 million. NVIDIA right here, that's up 0.32%. Riot's up 1%. Marathon's up 1%. Oscar is recovering a little bit. That was down about 10% yesterday. Joby's down 5%. That's up like 30% this week, so that's giving back some of the gains. United Healthcare, that's flat. Rocket Lab down a little bit, but amazing week for Rocket Lab, up almost 30%, 51 in the pre-markets on Rocket Lab. The Qs are at all-time highs at 562, Snapchat 996, Google 183, actually 185 in the pre-markets. We do have earnings next week for Google and Tesla 321 in the pre-markets, which is also going to be very, very important. Shout out to Nevruz. Today's my birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the channel and keeping up with it on your birthday. So happy birthday to Mr. Nevruz. And thank you for being here. Lords, thank you for the $50. More in Tom Lee, we trust. All right, I'll buy another BMNR. There you go. BMNR, Tom Lee. Now we have 32 shares. You know, Tanner set this thing up on his channel where Tanner's like, if you give a super chat, I'm going to, and say what stock to buy, I'm going to like take the super chat and then buy the stock within it. It'll become a public fund. And I think it's a great idea. But I feel like if I do that, it's going to be a little aggressive with some of these super chats and wanting to buy stuff. And I've done that for fun here and there. Like, oh, Mid, buy some SoFi. Oh, Mid, buy some Hood, buy some Palantir. I did it for fun. But if it becomes like a legit community thing, who knows? Maybe we do it. I just think you guys are going to send a lot of super chats. So, and I don't really want everyone just sending money to send money for that like fund. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do something like that. But I'm 32 shares of BMNR deep. 32 shares. Yeah, we would never get through a stream, bro. It would just be a little hard to get in through a stream. But regardless, deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate the super chats. You guys do not need to do that. I'm just so grateful every day that people come in the morning. And it's much more fun as a community to go to be experiencing a bull market, because we are in a bull market, and maybe it's feeling a little too toppy in August. We take a breather, and then we're going to have to deal with the pain of just like seeing some red in August if that happens. And I think there's some macro data we can look at for why that might not happen that I'll show in a second. But if it does, I mean, we enjoy the pain, we enjoy the gains, but right now we are enjoying the gains, and it has been incredible on the side of gains for some of these companies that we are seeing across the entire market. JetBlue right here, that's up 1%. Delta's up 1%. American Airlines up 1%. United had a great earnings, and that's why that stock as well was up 3% yesterday. And you were seeing momentum across the entire retail sector. Earnings this morning, we had some earnings. Let's go through that. Charles Schwab, that's another brokerage. They're a lot more than a brokerage, but that is indicative of the brokerage space. Beat by 4%, 1.14 versus 110 on EPS, and then beat by 2% on revenue, 5.85 versus 5.74 on Charles Schwab. So that is also really good for Robinhood and IBKR. 56% year-over-year EPS. Revenue's up. Wow, dude. Revenue's up 25% year-over-year. I don't know if that's either a typo on this, or is that, if someone can confirm that, I would love to know, or if that's an outlier for this specific quarter. But yeah, revenue right there. I think that's a typo. I don't think that's I'll check the actual. Charles Schwab doesn't grow 25% year over year. It's a little aggressive. That might be a typo right there. No, it's not. It's 25%. When's the last time Charles Schwab grew 25%? Am I bugging, or like these guys grow like 5 or 7%? Okay, well, that's really good in this quarter. 25%. I mean, is that stock up right now? Schwab, you would imagine that's up. Yeah, it's up 5%. All right, Charles Schwab, not bad. Yeah, management fees, wealth management, trading volumes, all that stuff. That is getting a lot of momentum. American Express, they also had earnings. They beat by 5% on EPS, 408 versus 388. And then revenue 17.85 versus 17.7. Revenue's up 9% year over year. EPS is up 17% year over year. American Express, AXP, this is one that's big in Berkshire Hathaway. That is down in the pre-market slightly, down about 1%. But that one is also beating on the top and bottom line. Then you had 3M. 3M, they had earnings beat on the top and bottom. 216 versus 201, beat by 7%. EPS is up 12% year over year. Revenue's up 2% year over year. 6.158 versus 6.07. That's beat by 1%. 3M. That stock is up 2.65 in the pre-markets. Up 2.65 in the pre-markets. Great sign for Hood. Yeah, 100%. Great sign for Hood. Not a typo. Schwab grows, but trading is up. Well, if Schwab's growing 25%, you know that some of these other brokerages like Robinhood are probably going to put up 40% growth. So that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible to see. Amazing stuff. Ricardo, thank you for the 30 euros. Yesterday, I've reached an important milestone in my investing journey, and you're a part of the big success of it. Thank you for all the effort and energy you invest in this wonderful community. Palantir, Rocket Lab, Hood, and Video. Ricardo, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for being here. And again, yeah, it's quite literally all about the community. I mean, this would not be possible at all without all of us coming together and sharing, dude. I mean, the amount of DD I get every day on so many of these names is exceptional. Then I'm just able to present that to all of you guys and we can analyze it together. So just incredible stuff, dude. It's been an incredible journey. It's a new era of retail investing. And it's one of those eras where, quite frankly, I think that's another reason why the market can continue getting a bid. If retail collectively is trying to find different undervalued names, that is where you will have people buy the dip because they simply believe they have the research that can sustain itself when you see some of these drawdowns on specific names. Speaking of keeping the market going, here is a stat I wanted to show everybody that I saw yesterday. So here is something very interesting. So you have commodity trading advisors, which are professionals who essentially trade future contracts, options on futures, and foreign exchange in the foreign exchange markets, foreign exchange contracts on different currencies. Here's a stat I saw last night, which is strategic CTAs are projected, this is from JP Morgan, to double their equity exposure over the next 2 weeks, adding between $60 and $70 billion worth of stocks. Now, you might be saying, why is that going to happen? Because they're trading futures contracts and they're trading foreign exchange contracts. And they're trading commodity contracts. And when the market gets to a certain level, those contracts need to maintain a certain level of maintenance and exposure to be able to match and mark to market against the overall equity market. The only way this 60 to 70 billion across commodity trading advisors would not enter the market is if the S&P 500 falls below 6,000. So talk about a 5% drawdown from here. If we don't get a 5% drawdown from here, you're going to get money coming out of the sidelines. By the way, money markets, they lost about 7 billion last week. So nothing, it was kind of a nothing burger, still 7.1 trillion on the sidelines. But you're going to get money that's been waiting to enter and get more exposure to equities eventually start to enter the market. It's just, you're going to need the market to sustain some of these levels. So in about a week, this is another reason why I think we can continue to maintain some of this momentum. And this is one of a variety of different ways that, obviously, we talked a lot about fund managers that at the end of the day, they just, like, if the S&P 500 is breaking all-time highs, you just can't wait for that juicy dip. You have to at some point allocate capital if you're getting paid to manage that capital. And CTA is same exact thing. They're just doing it in a strategic way via futures options, but that's going to lead to more underlying of the broader market. And so, I mean, this is pretty damn incredible, dude. You've got more money coming out of different pockets of the market simply because it needs to get exposure. And that means that Robin is going to get bought up at 109 from those people that are buying in. Grab gets bought up at 545. SoFi gets bought up at 22. NVIDIA gets bought up at 174. I mean, it's one of, I think this is going to be a market people write about in the history books because it's the 1 year where retail really, really proved they understood the market better than everyone else. And it's thanks to Donnie T, because retail just called his bluff on instituting these insane tariffs. And hopefully on August 1st, we continue to have that be a bluff. And that's why we're seeing this momentum, which is quite incredible to see. It's quite incredible to see. So that's what we got going on as well, based on some of this other macro data. Let's see if we have some housing stuff. I think we do. Let me pull this up real quick. Housing data is very important, as rate cuts is something that the street is focused on inevitably seeing and hopefully seeing soon to open up some of this housing market. Okay, cool. Yes. So housing starts. Wow. Kind of a beat. 1.32 million. 1.32 million. Will Circle keep doing well? I think if the stablecoin legislation continues to infiltrate itself throughout the broader economy, yes, Circle, which is the de facto stablecoin name in the market, can do well. Housing starts 1.32 million versus 1.30 expected. Housing starts month over month up 4.6%. Wow, the street thought it would be 2.7%. We're gonna get Michigan consumer sentiment as well at 10 a.m. We got 5 minutes until the market opens. 4.6% on housing starts month over month. That's a double from what the street expected. And overall, in the month of June, 1.32 million versus 1.3. Now that's really important because we need more supply. Because demand is there, but you have little supply in houses because people haven't been making as many houses because of interest rates, and that would open up the market to decrease some of the prices, which would help on inflation. Building permits as well, 1.397 versus 1.37 expected. So that's a little bit of a beat. And that would be overall really good for the housing market. That kind of is, I mean, anything bullish housing market, I guess, is bullish Open Door to an extent. Maybe that's why Open Door is up 10% right here as we get into the market open. Again, Open Door was at 220 yesterday, fell down to like 165. Now it's at 182. So this one also based on momentum. Yeah, year over year is still down. That is correct. Month over month is up. So ultimately we need these rate cuts, but we're going to have to see when we get it. Speaking of rate cuts, your boy Pulte, because he's not my boy. I don't know if he's your boy, but he's not mine. This dude is just like, he's kind of acting wild. But yesterday, he worked with Representative Anna Paulina Luma to officially, at least what they're saying is official. We don't have any legal documentation for this yet, but they were officially criminally referring Jerome Powell to the DOJ to investigate perjury regarding his crazy $2.5 billion building. So they're going to, if this is true, I don't know if this is true, but Pulte, along with a couple other representatives in Congress, as you can see right here, is teasing more news coming. I'm told by very reliable congressional sources that there may be a criminal referring coming. I mean, they're basically trying to get Jay Powell in front of a judge so that he can be seen committing perjury for lying about how much money they were going to spend to renovate the Fed building. I mean, look, I'm confused why they asked for 2.5 billion. Like, I don't think you need that much, but I don't the amount of money our government spends on nonsense and how much they waste. If you're going to investigate Jay Powell, you got a lot of other people you got to investigate as well. So I don't know, dude. I don't know. It feels a bit aggressive, but to put fuel on this fire of Jay Powell essentially being someone that Wall Street, or not Wall Street, but rather the Trump administration working in collaboration with some of these new potential Fed chairs want to get rid of. Like, it's almost seeming like they're all working together. Here's something that adds to that momentum. Fed Governor Christopher Waller has published an article yesterday called "The Case for Cutting Now." He wants a 25 basis cut, not in September, in July, pointing to slower GDP growth. July's meeting is next week. Weakening private sector job growth, and inflation nearing targets. This is someone who's a Fed governor who, I mean, I don't know if, he loves Powell or not, but he basically is publicly going against what Powell has said. And yesterday he put out an article straight up saying, hey, I'm ready to vote for a cut. I'm ready to vote for a cut. Is the market rocking? Hold on. The market, what's going on? What's going on? What's happening? NVIDIA 174. Robinhood, are we hitting 110? Yeah, we do have some green. I mean, we got 2 minutes until the market opens. I don't see any news. I don't see any. Whole market just jumped. S&P. Yeah, you guys are right. We are seeing a ton of green candles. Well, in 2 minutes, I guess we'll see how this market opens. I don't see any crazy news. Let me check real quick if I see anything right here. No, I have a quote from Waller, though. Speaking of Waller, he said, if President asked me to do the Fed chair job, I'd say yes. So it kind of makes sense why he wrote that article yesterday. I was kind of auditioning for this Fed chair. He's like, yeah, let's cut in July. I'm ready to cut. But I don't see any other crazy headlines. Maybe the market knows something. We got the market open in about a minute, and then we're going to see how this momentum can continue. Microsoft all-time highs at 515. Wow. Friday, you tend to get a little bit of a sell-off on Friday. Who knows? We've had a lot of momentum this entire week. Maybe this continues. Robinhood it did pass 110 in the pre-markets at 109.78 right here. NVIDIA 174. SoFi right here at 22.31, Palantir 154. Incredible stuff. Grab right here at 535. We are getting this market open in about 20 seconds. So anyway, yesterday you had a lot of people saying it's time to get rid of Powell. That created momentum. Waller wants to cut. You had great earnings by Netflix, United, IBKR across the board, and then you got momentum, and you have a lot of funds coming into Ethereum, commodity trading advisors getting ready to buy. You just have tons and tons of momentum. And that is why I think we are seeing the market that we are seeing. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Friday, July 18th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. S&P 500, 628. Does get a red candle right there, 628.96 from 629 in the pre-markets, but we are green. We are green on the S&P 500. It could go red. There is a red candle from pre-markets, but opens up at 628. Robinhood is at 109.88. It has not crossed 110 yet. As the market opens, it is holding 109 though, and it looks like it really wants to cross 110. 109.65 on Robinhood. SoFi 22.34. That breaks. Palantir 154. That breaks 154 on Palantir. You got BT, that's up 2.7%. MicroStrategy, that's up a little bit. Grab right here is up 2.1%, 537, down from the pre-markets at 548, but it is green right here at 537. BMNR is up 10% in the pre-markets, or as the market opens. Netflix is down. Netflix kind of expected. Good earnings, not great earnings. That's why that stock's down 4%. Probably price for perfection. 12.20 on Netflix. That one is down about 4%. Nothing like that's a red flag in the actual quarter, but just wasn't one of those, blow your socks off quarter. And that's why that stock right here is down 4%. Robinhood 110. Robinhood 110, and it looks like it wants 111. My goodness. 110.74. 111. There it is. 111 on Robinhood. That's up 5% on the day. It's breaking through. 112 resistance, folks, on Hoodie is 4,000 shares. 4,000 shares on Hoodie. Wow. It's got strength. It's got strength and it's got momentum. My freaking goodness. Robinhood right there, 110.55. SoFi right here, that's up 1%. IBKR, that's up 7.4. NVIDIA, 173. Let's check out some other names real quick. Big Bear AI, that's up 1.34%. SoundHound, that is up 2.06%. QBTS, which hit, I think, almost 20 yesterday. That's at 1862, so giving back some of the gains. That's normal. That's down about 3%. You've got Schwab right here, up 4%. Palantir right here, 154.55. Palantir might try to go for 155 again. Grab right here, 533. That's up 1.4. SharpLink Gaming, that's down 2%. BMNR is up 12%. So you're getting a divergence. You're getting a divergence on SBET and BMNR, at least today as the market opens. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin 118.9. Where's Coinbase? Coinbase right here, 423. Coinbase introduced a new crypto social media network over the past 48 hours, which is what's gotten the street even more excited about what they're doing. I think the reason they're really running is because of all this crypto legislation that's getting passed in the House of Representatives. I don't think the crypto social media network is the most exciting reason for Coinbase, but regardless, the street thinks it could be overall beneficial to their top line growth. Coinbase right here, 424. That's up 3.69%. But really, the crypto legislation that got passed is going to be very good for digital assets, and that's going to be very good for Coinbase. Wow, Robinhood. I think she wants 112. 111.50. GG's to the 110 covered calls this week. My goodness. I would roll them to January 150, bro. Get out of it. Just get out of the way. Or at least like August 130. Like, get out of the way here. 111.33 on Hoodie. My goodness. 112 only has 4,000 shares, so there's a shot. There is a shot. Shopify, that did really well this week because of their OpenAI collaboration. Wow, that's up another 1%, 127. Is that all-time highs? I think that's all-time highs on Shopify. All-time highs was 176. All right, so it still has some ways to go, but still fell to 23 in 2022. It's up more than 10x since the lows. 127 right here on Shopify. Robinhood 111. S&P 629. She's going for 630. She's going for 630. Tesla's moving too. Tesla, a lot of people were annoyed. Tesla wasn't doing anything yesterday while the market was moving. Tesla right here, 325. Tesla's up 2%. You got earnings next Wednesday on Tesla. You have earnings next Wednesday on Tesla. Oscar, is that tanking? Oscar is tanking. 1.4% down, back in the 1350s on Oscar here right now. So Oscar is red. Robinhood 111.50. She really wants 112. Lemonade, is that one down? That one's actually green. ASTS, how about them and Rocket Lab? That one's down 1%. Rocket Lab, is that giving back some of the gains? That's normal, giving back some of the gains. I mean, it's still up 25% this week, even though it's not in the 50s. 49.72. That one is down 3%. My bull position would be green if I held it, but I sold it for Robinhood, and quite frankly, I'm pretty happy I sold it for Robinhood. So, yeah. Webull's at 15. That's up 4%. I had covered calls at 14.50 anyway, so I wouldn't be able to really benefit from that. But I took that out at 12.54. I bought Robinhood at 103. And, I just much rather hold Robinhood. But Webull's doing great, up 5.4% right here. and it is doing well. Robin at 11.30 or 111.30, $111.30. Schwab right here is up 4.7%. Nvidia 173. 3M is basically flat. It was up 2%. Now that's down. So 3M going flat on the day. Palantir 153.81. That's giving back some of the gains as well. And then BMNR just crushing, dude, up 11%. Going the opposite of the other Ethereum treasuries like SBET. This is pretty incredible, dude. This is pretty freaking incredible. How about Rigetti? That was up like 30% 2 days ago, right? That one's down 2%. Okay. Again, some of these names giving back gains on a Friday, that's expected. That's expected. You would expect that to happen. Unless there is a real new catalyst for momentum. And for Hoodie, it's what Paul Atkins, the head of the SEC, said yesterday, which is that we are like focused on making it easier for companies to tokenize. They are on Hood's side when it comes to this. And when you have the regulators that are helping you out, that is a massive tailwind. A massive tailwind. Wow, Microsoft. Dude, who's heavy in Microsoft? I know this is one of the Max 7s that's under-owned by retail. Most of retail is heavier in Google, Meta, Tesla, and NVIDIA. But Microsoft slowly just becoming one of the most valuable companies this year behind NVIDIA. I think it's number 2. Yeah. Let me check right here. I think it's number 2. It was Apple for a bit. Yeah, it's Microsoft, 3.8. Dude, Microsoft's $200 billion away from $4 trillion. We talk about $4 trillion with NVIDIA. Microsoft's $200 billion away. How many shares outstanding do they have? They have 7 billion. Okay, so you would need basically a $28 move. So we're talking about 540. Microsoft gets 4 trillion. 540. Microsoft gets 4 trillion. Robin at 1160. I mean, she's close. She's close to 112. Lords owns Microsoft and calls. Andy owns some Microsoft. We got a bunch of guys right here owning Microsoft. Folks, we are 12 cents away. I got my bell ready. Oh, no, we hit it. We hit it. We hit it. 112.08. We hit it. Which means we're probably going to head back there because there was only 4,000 shares of resistance. $112. Robinhood, I think, is having its Palantir moment, ladies and gentlemen. 112 on Hoodie. Dude, this is, and it's breaking through 112. Well, you know what's better than 112? You know what's better than 112? 113 resistance on this name is 4,000 shares. There's not walls on this stock. It's what the technical analysts would call blue skies. The blue skies are there. Now it's up to the market how high it wants to go, but there is not some massive wall of resistance. There's not a ton of people ready to sell at these levels. Like, there's nothing. If the volume's there and it wants to go higher, it will go higher. Robin, we are $1 billion away from $100 billion market cap, folks. $1 billion away from $100 billion market cap. I believe that's probably at 113, or maybe 113.50. We would see $100 billion market cap on Robinhood. Tesla right here, 324. Shopify, 127. Coinbase, 427. NVIDIA trying to get to 174 again. United, that's down a little bit. SoFi, that's down, or that's up 2%. Where is Netflix? Is that still taking a little bit of a hit? Netflix, that's down 5%. All right. It is what it is. Basically was at all-time highs. Good earnings, not great earnings. That's why it's down 5%. So, I mean, hopefully that recovers with the broader market, but you kind of just need people stepping in and buying Netflix here. And, you know, that might take some time over the coming weeks. But Netflix right here, 12.12. That one is down about 4%. The one thing I will say from what I heard on the Netflix call, it is not about their earnings, subscriber revenue growth. It is about their content slate for the rest of the year. And they spent a lot of time talking about how much content they have ready to go. And ultimately for Netflix, this is what I misunderstood about the business. The content is the driver. If they have good content, they will get people to subscribe. They got 4 million subscribers in one quarter just off Squid Games in 2021, just off one show. If they have good content, they will get more subscribers. And, you know, you would think in a recession, no one's really going to cancel their subscription. So that is the bull case on Netflix. And if you believe Q3 is going to be a good content quarter, then that is why Netflix should do well. Just scrambled to roll out of a hood-covered call from a beach in Croatia. How crazy is that, right? That you could be in a beach in Croatia and you got to run back to your hotel to let me get out of this covered call, dude. Like this is the nature of these markets, bro. It does give you the freedom to be across the world and operate with them. But when Hood's running like this, yeah, you kind of get get those covered calls out of the way. Grab right here. Where is Grab? Is that one moving? Grab 538. Again, a 530 close to me would be very bullish. A lot of things are starting to, I think, begin to make the thesis really start to make sense. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be slow and steady, though. I think slow and steady will win the race when it comes to Grab. And earnings will kind of be what we see, hopefully continue that momentum going into the end of the year on July 30th. Microsoft right here at 512, Tesla 323. So Tesla, I don't think there's any headline on Tesla. I will check real quick. But Tesla, I mean, yesterday, Tesla was just kind of lagging the broader market. I mean, Elon has been tweeting a lot about robotaxis. He said a bunch of things yesterday that were exciting. I think I saved one of his tweets right here. What did he say? Yeah, he said this. He's talking a bit more about AI. So he said, AI is a de facto neurotransmitter tonnage maximer. Any AI that fails at this will not be able to afford its compute. What matters is that AI thinks long-term, optimizing for the future. For long-term optimization, it's better to be a private than public company, as the latter is punished for long-term optimization beyond the reward cycle of stock portfolio managers. That's why I saved this tweet. This is Elon basically saying, hey, don't expect XAI or SpaceX to go public anytime soon, because in order for us to really build AGI, we kind of need to have the freedom to not worry about the stock market, which makes sense. This is why XAI and Tesla would never do a merger. Just there's no value to that. But I do think Tesla should invest in XAI. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any main headline for why Tesla's running, but earnings is coming up Wednesday, and I will be buying Tesla before earnings. I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but I will be putting my hat in the ring and be buying some Tesla. And I think it'll be time to start building out the overall Tesla position. And so next week we have earnings, and we'll be going from there. S&P 628.78. Robinhood, she's getting close. 122.77. She hit 122.52. 99.3 billion. I think 113 takes her 200 billion. CRISPR's up 18%. Wow. I don't know if there's a headline. What's the headline? Does anyone know on that? This is a big Kathy stock. ARKG should be up on this. ARKG's up 3%. Did they have some breakthrough or something around their scientific discoveries? That's a big move. CRISPR doesn't move 16%. It does not move like that. So that's definitely something that's bullish for ARKG and the overall genomics ecosystem. 112.50 right here on Hoodie. Big insider buying. Well, that means an insider probably is pretty confident on some of the work that they're doing. That is always good to see when an insider begins buying. 113 resistance on Hoodie is 4,000 shares. 3,969. 3,969. Where's Rocket Lab? Did we dump on Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab, it dumped today. All right. Again, it's kind of like Netflix, right? Netflix just all-time highs. Quarter was good, not great. The stock's going to go down. People are not going to buy it at all-time highs. Rocket Lab, stocks at 53, all-time highs, no other catalyst other than the analyst upgrades. And there's no headlines. People are going to take some profits. It is what it is, right? If you are in a name like a Rocket Lab that has done very well, you just can't complain about it. Given this, the beginning of this week, it was 35, right? So I think that's not the craziest thing. CRISPR right here, still up 17%. And Hoodie trying to go for 113. NVIDIA 173. SoFi, let me check SoFi 23 resistance. I think it's time for SoFi, dude. I think it's time. Here's my question to everyone in SoFi. I asked this question to Tanner last night. Who's buying SoFi here? Who is so bullish that they're saying, you know what, this is a breakout. I don't really care about what anyone says. I want more exposure. I want to average up. And I think we're going to 30. Who's buying SoFi? 23 resistance, 123,000 shares. 123,000 shares for SoFi. 123. Robinhood, all right, here you go, folks. 20 cents. 20 cents. We got to 112.95. I think we hit 113. That will be 100 billion or very close to it. Dude, this is remarkable. I mean, this is it's quite literally a Palantir moment. I mean, we experienced this last year with Palantir, and it's from 7 to 115 on Hood is the same thing. 7 to 100 was, and now Palantir's at 150. If Hood can get to that 120, 130 range, that would be almost a replica of what happened in the same time frame, basically 2.5 years. Is Hood frothy? Yeah, there's no way you can say it's not frothy. But the thing I've been saying over the past couple of weeks is that the catalysts for growth are there. They simply are there. And what happened last night, when Palantir announced a major NATO partnership, that's a catalyst for international growth. You can disagree with the valuation, but you cannot disagree with the fact that that is a catalyst. And that will result in more growth, even if it's not as much growth as what you might want to see to justify the multiple. With Hoodie, there's multiple different catalysts. And because Hoodie is not as, Pouncer's 350 billion, Hoodie's at 99 billion, those catalysts, if they increase growth incrementally by even 3 to 4% in a quarter, that will make the multiple still kind of attractive, simply because the growth really is there. And if the runway for growth, the perception of that runway for growth increases, then that also makes it very attractive. So is it expensive? Sure. A lot of stocks are expensive here, but generational company with actual catalysts to prove that it's a generational company. In this case, all the crypto stuff that's happening with Hood. Not to mention banking is coming in the fall, folks. People will be able to take their direct deposit from where they work and put it right into Hood. I mean, you've got an entire suite of products and services that are coming in September, October, which is another catalyst that the street can factor in for Q4 earnings as well. So pretty incredible. Yes, it's not even the S&P. It's not even in the S&P as well. Tesla right here, 324, Coinbase 434, Shopify 127, Rocket Lab 4958, ArcG 2529, Grab right here 536. Ethereum, is that one moving today? It was at 3600. Ethereum still at 3650, which is not bad. And then SoFi 2264. 2264 on SoFi. Microsoft 512 as well. Hoodie 20 cents. 20 cents to get there. All right, 10 cents. 10 cents. Hood already has a debit card, but now they're coming out with like an actual bank account, checkings and savings, but they already have a debit card. They have that like for the past couple of years. Chad says Hood's having his Pouncer movement and I can't even get a gold card. Yeah, the gold card, they've been lacking with that. The only reason I got it was because I was at the investor day and they were like, hey, if you're here, just give us your email so we can get you the gold card as soon as possible. I ran to that table, bro. I was like, hello, here's my email. I ran as soon as they said that at the investor day. That was in December. I was like, hi, my name's Amit. Can I please get the gold card? All right, folks, 5 cents. 5 cents. Oh, we hit it. We hit it. 113. 113 on Hoodie. There she goes. She hit it. $113. She's not $100 billion yet. I think it looks like 113.50 is going to be $100 billion market cap. But ladies and gentlemen, $113 on Robinhood. Well, this is pretty incredible. This is pretty incredible. Amit, did you hear about the potential executive order to allow crypto and 401ks? Yes, I'm happy you bring that up because that is another reason why Hood's running. Trump basically said yesterday, or he's going to sign an executive order soon saying, hey, if you want to have crypto in your 401k, you want to have private equity, you want to have all these alternative assets, go ahead. And he's opening up the floodgates to allow diversified assets to enter into people's retirement accounts, which outside of the private equity bubble that we have, which I don't think is the best idea for people to have in their retirement accounts, crypto, if people get to buy Ethereum and Bitcoin in their 401ks and just not touch it for like 30 years, that's like an instant bid for major crypto assets that are not going to be touched with because every 2 weeks automatically your job's going to, your employer's going to match that 401k and it's just going to go into those funds, especially if it's through an ETF that holds those crypto assets. And then boom, you have net buying every 2 weeks on something like Ethereum and Bitcoin, which is massive. Are we going for 114, folks? We are at 113.40, 114 resistance, 4,000 shares. Every extra dollar here is like 4,000 shares at resistance, 35.05 at 114. I mean, 4,000 shares is just, again, these are blue skies. The thing is, no one's like, people really aren't selling here. That like now everyone's just sitting back and watching. If it dumps to like 109, I'm sure people will sell because they're like, oh no, it's dumping, yada yada. But as long if there's buyers stepping in every dollar, you're not going to want that many people to get the hell out of it because it just might go higher. Oh, you guys are right. We did hit 100 billion. That's correct. All right, so 113.40 it looks like was 100 billion. Yes, you're right. 113.40 was 100 billion. 113.40. There you go. Amit is the 150 covered call, August 15 save. I don't know anymore. Look, in all seriousness, I think like the 140s in August 15th, around that range, are going to be fine. But who knows, dude? Who freaking knows? I've got 140s for December and I've got 150s for January. So, I mean, I'm in a worse position. At least you have August. You have a month for it to not go to 140. I don't know what I have. But look, in general, August tends to be a little weak. You might see these trade deals create a bit of a black swan. I mean, it's fun. We're enjoying it right now. But realistically, if there's any level of downside momentum in the market, obviously the highest beta names like a hoodie, like a Palantir are going to take a bit of a haircut. We all have to be prepared for that. It's just fun in the moment to enjoy it. And if it can, even if it drops down to 100 and 100 is the base, I'm not going to be complaining. Now, granted, I have a lot of shares. So if it drops from 112 to 100, that's $12 times a lot of shares. The portfolio would drop a lot, but still, I would not be complaining. How am I supposed to do my job right now? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone's working from home on a Friday with this going on. I don't know. Shopify right here, 127. Tesla, 326. Maybe Tesla wants 330. Ethereum, 3,600. Shopify, 127. SoFi, 2250. Rocket Lab down 4. Grab, 536. Is Open Door making a move? Lemonade's at 41. Open Door is making a move, 20%. Back to $2 on Open Door. Back to $2 on Open Door. That company that set up a Dogecoin treasury, a BTOG, they're up 50%. BTOG, they're up 50%. What's wrong with Amazon? Nothing is wrong with Amazon. What's wrong with the stock, nothing's wrong with the company, is that Bezos is selling like every other day, and he's selling a good chunk. Now, again, that's not a bear case at all. First of all, he deserves to sell. Second of all, Amazon is a incredible company that can withstand insider selling. But that is a little bit of a, when the stock goes up a couple bucks and then Bezos sells $300 million, $400 million, that he sold $1.5 billion 2 days ago, you're going to have some selling pressure. So I think Amazon just needs good earnings. AWS needs to crush. Oracle kind of gives us the inclination that AWS will crush. And if they do, then that should be very bullish for Amazon regardless. Oracle right here, 248 on Oracle. That's down a little bit on the day. Hoodie, all right, Hoodie taking a breather, if you want to call it a breather, 112.36. If we even get a close above 110, I would be very, very happy. Oscar's getting it. Yeah, dude, I mean, I have not had enough time to go deep into why Oscar's getting hit this much this week. I think it's because of the big beautiful bill. But from the people that I see in the Oscar community, they're buying a lot. Like this one guy yesterday, he has 230,000 shares in his screenshot. I'm just like, and he said he's buying more. His average is 15. I mean, so like you got this community that they're just buying more and more and more, and they don't care. They think this is completely misunderstood by the market. Oh, one of the reasons Oscar is down this week is because they got 2 downgrades to like $10. So they did have some nasty downgrades by the street, and that's probably why it's getting hit. But a lot of these retail investors do not care. Amazon at 224. Amazon at 224. Eggs and tacos. Thank you for the $100 super chat. That is very kind of you. I was close to exiting my hood position back in early 2023 for a loss as I bought heavy during IPO, which is when I found your channel. I kept listening and built my confidence back to hold. Thank you. I'm up 7 figures. And thanks all to you. Dude, congratulations. Congratulations. I mean, yeah, your story is actually very similar to a couple other stories I've heard, quite frankly, of people that really got annoyed because they bought into the IPO in hood like you did. And then it destroyed them, right? It was like Palantir. Palantir at least had a little bit of a pump before it fell 80%. Hood was up for like 3 days and then it fell 80%. It was like 30 to 85 and then to 20. And then for the next 2 years, it was at 7. And a lot of people gave up hope. Some of the employees that personally messaged me in the company that said, those were the darkest days. And they said, like, we needed some level of like public affirmation that what we were doing was worthwhile. And back in 2023, some of the tweets from myself and other people in the community, like Arnie, the employees were reading those tweets. Like, because their stock equity, most of these tech companies are tech employees, Robinhood back to 113, are paid in stock. And when their stock is demolished, I mean, I met one guy who got his stock options at 40, stock was at 7, right? So, I mean, it's just tough when majority of your compensation is dead. And a lot of them thought of leaving the company to go to Google or to go to Amazon and get some, healthier stocks with better compensation, but they stayed. A lot of them stayed. Robinhood only has 2,400 employees. And so part of the reason they stayed is because investors like yourself also stayed. And they trusted that Vlad would figure this out, and he did. So it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible to see this all playing out. Robinhood back to 113 here right now. 3M executive says additional tariffs likely will influence only a few months of 2025 with most effects moving into 2026. Okay, so that's why that one's probably given up some of the gains that it had in the pre-markets. That one's down 2%. All right. So the CEO is saying there's going to be some effects by tariffs in 2026. That's probably why the street is taking that one down just a little bit here. HIMS is crashing. HIMS. Wow. HIMS below 50 again. I mean, look, dude, I still have my HIMS. I have my 700 shares at a $55 average. I don't really know what to do with it. Don't feel that comfortable buying the dip, but also I'm just like, well, I don't want to sell here. Look, they have earnings on August 4th. On earnings, this thing's either going back to 55, 60, or I think it's going to low 40s. I mean, they're going to need a really good earnings. And I don't know. I think the growth will be there, but however they address the Novo stuff is going to be the most important. I'm just holding it. And ultimately, I think the growth is there. I think 11 billion is cheap. I do think, though, that the Novo stuff is an overhang. And until that is resolved, we might not see any momentum on it. Yeah, that's true. 3% on HIMS is essentially flat. Crashing is negative 20%. Crossroads, Roy. I know you're looking at Robinhood right now as well, bro. I know you're looking at this thing right now, dude. 113.15. Robinhood, $99.8 billion market cap. Roy has been on the journey with myself and Tanner on this podcast every single week. Roy, those that have not followed his Twitter for a while, he came up with this term called the golden confluence. And essentially it was this idea of a variety of different things intersecting all at once that would be incredibly bullish just for Robinhood. Crypto, equities, all this stuff happening at the same time. And that led to the momentum that Robinhood had last year. And I think that golden confluence has only continued going into 2025. I just bought back my covered calls, not risking it right now. Yeah, dude, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. And quite frankly, sometimes you just get out of the way. A lot of people in the Pounter community have the experience of knowing that the covered calls, like sometimes it's better to just take the loss early or roll it early if it's a generational company. And I mean, you do have some sector of the population on FinTwit, I will say, that is thinking it's all a meme. Webull, by the way, up 3.5%. Oscar down 3.3%. Oracle 247. Amazon 224. HIMS down 2.4%. Open Door, is that moving above 20%? That's at 29%. 212 on Open Door. 212 on Open Door. I think those housing permit starts is the bullish macro data that a retail company, literally a retail company around selling houses, right, to the open retail market, is what it needed. So Open Door right there, 29%. But yeah, you do have a lot more people on Twitter. I'm starting to see like people are writing up their short thesis on Hood. And I'm just reading through it and I'm like, and they're tagging me in it because they want me to respond, because they know that a lot of people associate my name with Hood. So if I respond to it, they'll get more attention on their short thesis. And I'm just looking at it and I'm not responding to it because it's a stupid short thesis. And it's like, well, if the market crashes, Hood will crash. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that if the market crashes, Hood will crash. It's like, wow, that's a phenomenal. Wow, your Substack, dude. We should pay you $1,000 a year on your Substack. My goodness. If the market crashes, Hood will crash. I feel like I just got enlightenment, like, to a different level. Is this the age of rationality that's entering upon us again? Wow. The stock market falls, Robinhood will take a hit. I mean, and it's kind of just like, are you just writing up a short thesis because you're upset that Vlad is executing on a generational level? It's like these same people with Palantir. It's like, oh, trading at 100 times sales. It's expensive. It's overvalued. It's going to pop. It's a bubble. It's like, no one's denying in the Palantir community, no one that I know who understands Palantir, that it's expensive. But the story was never about the valuation since it was 20, because at 20, it was a $45 billion company doing like 1.7 billion in revenue. That was expensive too. There was always a deeper argument there. And it's not that like the shorts shouldn't have a short thesis. That's what makes a market. It's that the short thesis is always so myopic in terms of how they're viewing. It's always so short-sighted, ironically, on how they're viewing the company, whether it's Palantir or Robinhood, that it just makes you think people are doing it for attention. And so, I just don't think a lot of the bear arguments are that strong here. Tesla, are we pumping? Tesla 3. Wow, Tesla. She's going to make me buy it at 3:30 on Wednesday, bro. She's going to make me buy it at 3:30. She's going to make me buy it higher. Roy says the market will overpay for generational unicorns, but note that unicorns are super rare. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's really hard to find them. But when you find them, the market, again, I shared that stat a while ago, right? Like 90% of the value in the stock market is created by 2% of the public companies. And that doesn't mean valuation doesn't matter. That doesn't mean numbers don't matter. That just means if it really is a generational company, you're going to have people pay for it. at an elevated premium. And that is the nature of how you find these generational companies. Tesla right here. Let me check 330 resistance. It's 20 cents away. Tesla 330 resistance is 131,000 shares. 131,000 shares. 131,000. Amit, will you sell Grab at 10? I am not selling Grab at all. In fact, I am getting ready to buy more, just equity, not options. I will have to sell my options at 10 because they have an expiration and $10 the price target. So if we get above 10 by January 2026, 2027, I will obviously sell those because the contracts will expire. 330 on Tesla. 330 on Tesla. But my actual equity, dude, I am I am not selling that equity. I really do think that Grab could be a $100 billion company. It's not going to happen overnight. But I feel very safe buying a company with $9 billion in cash, exceptional management team that's dominating an entire part of the world, which is Southeast Asia. So to me, at these levels, Grab right there, 540, breaking above 540. I have zero intention of selling this anywhere at these levels or anywhere near materially above these levels either. Tesla 330. All right, 331. Dude, Tesla participating is what's really making this a bull market right here, because Tesla not participating never makes it as fun. 331, 15,000 shares. 15,000 shares on 331. Oh, we got Michigan sentiment. What do we got? Let me see. It's 10 a.m. That could be helping Tesla right here if Michigan sentiment is good. Let me see. Okay, 61.8 versus 61.5. 1 year inflation expectation, 4.4 versus 5. That's good. 5 to 10 year inflation expectation, 3.6 versus 4. That's good. Thank you, Cactus Jack, for that. All right, so those are slight beats across the board. The inflation expectation is way better, 3.6 versus 4 and 4.4 versus 5. At least it's not 7.1% like it was freaking 2 months ago. Open door 228, by the way. Oscar is still down 3%. Robinhood 113. But that's good. That's actually really good retail consumer sentiment data, because we saw retail sales yesterday match up to the sentiment being strong. Again, retail sales beat by 0.5%. Jobless claims beat by like 15,000 jobs. So it means people have jobs, they're spending money, and if they don't think inflation is going to be that bad, then boom, you have the market that can say, hey, the economy is not in a horrible situation. And that's what we got. I do not own Oscar. No, I do not own Oscar. Joby right here. That goes green, folks. This was down 5% like 20 minutes ago. Archer, I think, is moving with it. Archer is, going green as well. 1340. Archer was down at $9 a couple of weeks ago. Archer back to 1340. Is Circle moving? Circle based on stable coins, that is moving. Wow, 250, folks. That is getting pretty damn close to 300. It got to 298, like I think 3 weeks ago. I mean, Circle, it went down to 180, back to 250. And then Coinbase, dude, Coinbase, my goodness. I mean, Brian Armstrong, exceptional company, exceptional leadership. They are the de facto brokerage for crypto, for institutionals in particular. I mean, that's where they get a lot of their trading volumes. And they are one of the most trusted places for people to buy and sell crypto. 440 on Coinbase, up 7%, $111 billion market cap on Coinbase. This one breaking out also signals it is a bull market. You got Coinbase, which is primarily rooted in crypto brokerage services, getting momentum. That's very bullish for Bitcoin, and that's very bullish for risk-on assets in the entire crypto ecosystem. Bitcoin right here, 118. 118.9. Open Door is now up 35%. Who's in Open Door? Put in the chat. Put in the chat if you're heavy in Open Door. 35%. I'm not chasing this one, but if you're in it, that's up. SBET, is that still red? That one goes slightly green, but BMNR is the story of the day, up 10%. Tom Lee did put out a really good thread on BMNR yesterday, like a long thread on X. I would read through it. He goes and breaks down the numbers and just explains why a treasury for Ethereum could really be the MicroStrategy of Ethereum. And I think that also is getting more people to buy into that thesis as well. UNH, ugly UNH, down 2%, 282. I mean, the other reason UNH is getting hit is because people are buying growth. People don't want to buy value. I mean, well, at least in this market, you're buying value because you think you're getting a good discount, which is when you're supposed to be buying value. And you buy for a rainy day. You buy for, all right, when growth takes a little bit of a hit,
your value gets a bid. And then also, if it's an actual fundamentally undervalued company, like I think UNH is, over the long term, this one recovers. But it's not going to be overnight. And so for the people expecting it overnight, obviously it sucks. But this one right here down about 2% with UNH. SBET right here, that starts to go up 2%. And then Open Door up about 34% right now. Yeah, Peter Thiel also bought BMNR. That also helped it this week as well. That was important. The Circle thesis is that this is the stablecoin that most companies are going to be using, the stablecoin provider that most companies are going to be using. It's them and Tether. USDC is with Circle and Coinbase, and most people are going to be using that over Tether, at least in America and, with the big financial institutions. So that's your bull case. And that is why, when I did that podcast with Tom Lee, he finally opened my eyes to why it's getting this valuation. It's not because of people think it should be worth $50-60 billion. It's because so many funds bought into the IPO and it went crazy. And now the funds have an incentive to not let this thing tank because they missed the rally on the other stocks. And this IPO basically justified to their clients why they should trust them, because they got their clients into Circle at 31, stocks at 255. I mean, when you make your clients that type of a return in a year, you have a incentive to call up all your Wall Street friends and make sure this thing stays afloat. Not to mention, it is, again, the de facto stablecoin of the broader markets. And so you're going to have that inherent kind of put by Wall Street that says we want to keep it elevated because we believe, A, in the actual thesis, and B, it's helping our fund performance, which is an actual thesis on, why the stock stays elevated. And I don't think that's just hype either, because if they can put up the numbers, which they will, even if it doesn't justify 60 billion, they are not going to be a company that's growing 1 or 2%. This is a massive industry that Basent. Also, you got the feds that are very supportive of stablecoins, which is going to be helping them create broader regulatory frameworks, because the stablecoin companies are buying treasuries, which is what the Fed needs to lower the long end of the yield of the yield curve. That is why Circle's really getting a bid across the entire market. Grab right here, 537, Lemonade 41.50, Robinhood 112, Schwab 96. That's still up 3%. Then Nvidia 173.21, trying to go back to 174. And Open Door still up about 35%. Meta, okay, I don't know why Meta's been tanking this week. I have no idea. There you go, 694. All right, she's actually below 700 now. I'll see if there's any headlines. Meta got upgraded by a lot of firms this week to 825. I think it's literally because Zuck is spending a lot of money, and the street's just a little worried about what that's going to mean for earnings. Yeah, JMP this morning upgraded them to 750. There's not really bad news. I guess you could say this: the chief global office, the chief officer of global affairs posted this on LinkedIn today. At Meta, Europe is heading down on the wrong path on AI. We have carefully reviewed the European Commission's code of practice for general purpose AI models, and Meta won't be signing it. The code introduces a number of legal uncertainties for model developers, as well as measures which go far beyond the scope of the AI Act. So maybe they're beefing with the Europeans again, and that's what's happening. Okay, there you go. So that's what you got on Meta. Let me see if I can get some more of this consumer sentiment data right here. We took a look at it. Let's see if I can pull this back up and get some more data.
Deal news of the day. Chevron completing that $55 billion.
61.8 is the headline. Better than expected. Sequentially higher than 60.7, the rear view mirror. That's the best level since February. Very solid number there. And if we look at the current conditions, 66.8. Well above the 64 we were looking for. That's the second best number of the year, which means, of course, we're comping to January. Finally, if we look at expectations, what may lie ahead, also better than expected, also sequentially higher than our last look, 58.6, the best since February this year as well. Finally, maybe the most important numbers that I believe the long end is going to like in terms of maybe a little more buying coming in, pushing yields down. The one-year inflation rate moved from 5% down to 4.4%. 4.3 is where we were in February. There's where your comp is. But we did in May have 6.6. That was the highest since 81. I do believe those were some distortions by
the 10-year and 30-year are taking a little bit of a breather, which is nice today as well. So yeah, that Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectation data coming down. BMNR right here up 8%. Definitely bullish for some of these yield curves. Coinbase 442, Bitcoin trying to get back to 120, Open Door up 27%. Circle 256. All right, what are you guys doing? Are we selling, buying, watching in amazement? What are people doing right here? What are people doing? It's 10:10, 10:30. Who knows how this market reacts? Tesla participating in the rally today. S&P basically going flat. How are people retiring? Oh my gosh, dude! See, that's a top comment. That and I don't mean that's the top comment as in that's a good comment, even though it is a good comment. It's like a top comment in the chat, but it's also a toppy comment. But then again, there's been many toppy things we've seen this week. I mean, dude, you guys want to see something toppy? You want to see something toppy? I saw this last night and I was like, oh, I love this guy, but goodness gracious, this feels kind of toppy. You want to see it? When you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Tom Lee changed his profile picture to a pudgy penguin. I mean, if the market's going to survive with all these toppy signals, maybe all of the toppy signals are actually the contrarian bet against being toppy. It's like if everyone's saying it's toppy, then maybe it's not toppy, right? Like if everyone's saying it's toppy, maybe it's not toppy. Maybe. But I saw that last night and Tom Lee, he tweeted he has a new profile picture and I was just like, oh my gosh, bro, these pudgy penguins, like, that's like an NFT. I think there's like an NFT ETF coming out around pudgy penguins. So it all feels so toppy. But Tom Lee's like, well, hey, I'm a pudgy penguin. And I'm like, all right, man, we love you. I guess we're going to have to embrace that you're a pudgy penguin. I guess we will. Jeffrey says I'm holding and buying. JH says I'm watching. Nevin says I might nipple on some meta soon. That's a very interesting way to say it. Peter says I bought more. Matt says I'm buying more Tesla. What's your cost basis on Grab? 450. 450 is my cost basis on Grab. Buying some Netflix. RX is pumping. Is that Recursion? That's the NVIDIA investment. Wow, that's up 12%. All right. That's green. That one's green. Circle's up 11% right here. Seems like a lot of you guys are either holding or buying into some of the strength. I think I see a few people. Wow, SPET 8%. It was red like 5 minutes ago. Boom, 8%. I don't see a lot of selling. I mean, I see some people saying taking some profits here, but I don't see a ton of people saying they're exiting entire positions. Ethereum right here, 36.67. All right, so Ethereum's moving. That's why the treasuries are moving. Fear and greed is an extreme greed. That is correct. It is not at the ultimate extreme greed. It is at 77, which is still relatively. I mean, we've seen fear and greed before, like 90, 95. We're not there yet. We're at 77. Does that make sense though? If everyone's saying it's a top, does that make sense that it's not a top? Like I thought about that last night because I'm like, okay, I just showed you guys like 3 or 4 stories that like everyone could be like, that's toppy. But if everyone agrees that it's toppy and it ends up, being one of those things where everyone's scared, that's good because everyone should be scared because that creates the wall of worry. And then if you got earnings to back it up and then rate cuts theoretically coming again, that Fed Governor Waller said yesterday he's ready to cut in July. I mean, I don't know. It might just create a contrarian argument for why the markets can continue. Trump just tweeted, big signing at 2:30 in the White House. Congrats to our great Republicans for being able to accomplish so much, a record in a short period of time. All the Democrats do is complain, to criticize, and get nothing done. They are a party of the past. Okay. There you go. Webull right here, 1520. That's up 5.3%. And Trump is saying he's going to be signing in the White House. Austin says everyone agreed 2021 was a top, and it was. Did everyone agree? I feel like everyone got destroyed in 2021 because people didn't agree that it was a top. Like I didn't think it was a top. Granted, I was a much more novice investor, but like I feel like the sentiment was bullish until Jay Powell had that meeting where he was like, expect pain, and that's when we all really. I was like, okay, yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. I feel like everyone in 2021 thought the party would keep going, and then obviously, we had to raise rates. But now it just feels like everyone's pointing out more and more top signals constantly. And that's why maybe it feels like it could be the opposite. Where's Hoodie? Hoodie 112.40. Hoodie trying to get back to 113. That's up 6.6% as well right here. If you were investing in 2021, did you feel it was toppy the whole year? Like go back to where you were in 2021. Did you feel Bitcoin at 69,000 in November was a top, or did you think Bitcoin was going to 80,000 in November? of 2021. There's $7 trillion in money market funds that needs to find a new home. Yes. And again, not all $7 trillion will, but historically money market funds have had about $4 trillion. Now, I'm not saying $3 trillion is going to come into the markets. I'm just saying expecting a couple $100 billion to come into the markets is not crazy at all. But yes, there is $7 trillion on the sidelines that inevitably, when we get rate cuts, needs a home. And we're getting those rate cuts through hell or high water. We're getting those rate cuts. It's either going to be the easy way with Jay Powell in July, September, or it's going to be the hard way when he's gone in May. The hope is that if we get rate cuts in May, it's not because the economy has materially reduced, aka unemployment, because then we'll get our rate cuts, but we're going to have a weak economy, and it's not going to matter if we get our rate cuts. So realistically, September is when we kind of need to see those cuts happen. BM&R up 11%, Open Door up 25%. Let's hear from Ed Yardeni. He's been pretty bullish. I think he's been calling 7,000 for a while. Let's see how he's thinking about these markets.
Call of the danger of a melt up. Does that thesis, does that live?
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about forward PEs now of over 22. We're back to where we were before the correction. So valuation is definitely stretched. But the good news is earnings are great. Earnings are coming in better than expected. They grew about twice as much as expected during the first quarter. Looks like that's going to happen again in the second quarter, partly because analysts lowered their expectations to about 3.5% on a year-over-year basis, and we're expecting more like 7%. So, we've been talking about the roaring 2020s, and looks like after a brief interruption for maybe the past 6 months where a lot of uncertainty and confusion, we're back to that kind of scenario.
Do you think market concentration gets worse from here, or can we get some?
All right, we're seeing red candles across the board. 1030 slam looks like it's happening. Robinhood still holding 111, but we are seeing some red candles. It's a Friday, kind of expected as well. So we're going to see if we get a little bottom intraday and we can reverse, or if we keep these red candles. But it's not because of any macro data. It's kind of seeming algorithmic and in general, kind of all at the same time happening at once. I'll see if we can find any headlines if there is a reason to explain some of the red here.
Longer lasting broadening out.
I think we could get to a broadening out in the market. The reality is that AI and AI-related stocks have been where all the excitement has been, but the real beneficiaries of any of this digital revolution are going to be the companies this S&P 493, not just the S&P 7, the Magnificent 7.
What about Russell 2000, which is only up 1% or so this year?
Yeah, well, one of the problems, or the biggest problem, has been earnings have been kind of in a coma for the past several years. They can't seem to get going. I think one of the problems with the small caps is the really good ones stay private for a long time and then get bought out in the private markets by the Microsofts and Googles of the world. So you never really, it would be nice to be able to buy Microsoft or Google when they were young and ride that pony for a long time. But the problem is all the good ones get bought out early. So maybe that's the problem. We're not getting really any earnings growth from the mid caps.
Ed, I'm curious about your.
And that's kind of also why we'll finish up with that. But that's also kind of why Russell hasn't done much. The small and mid. You have to be selective with the small mid caps. Like Evercore, Mark Mahaney, he's one of my favorite analysts. His favorite small and mid cap going into 2025 was Grab, and it's a $20 billion company, small mid cap, and I think there's a real thesis there. But the Russell, the overall like ETF of small caps, you just got to be selective, dude. And the hard part with the Russell is when you have Nvidia doing what it's doing, it's hard to buy small caps, even if they are definitively and objectively cheaper than the Mag 7. There's a lot of junk there with a lot of companies that have a lot of debt. And you know what? If you don't get rate cuts, the cost of capital on that debt continues to go higher. So I think when it comes to mid caps, it's got to be really selective, and you really got to understand the business to consolidate a heavy position in it. Remember when Palantir was 7? Yes, I do. Those days were pretty incredible, dude. They were pretty incredible. 2022, right? I mean, Hood 7, Palantir 7. You had a lot of names. Coinbase 23. I mean, it's just Meta 88. And then, bull market. And then in April, we get the greatest opportunity ever to buy in the middle of it. Like, a bull market doesn't give you that many opportunities to get back in, especially if you missed it, or to like double down. And retail doubled down. I mean, dude, let's look at some of these screenshots, dude. This person, this was not during August, but this was during October when Hood really began breaking out in 2024. This is when Hood was like 25. They're up 400 grand on 60 call options that they bought expiring 2027 for Hood to be 40. Today, they're probably up more because this was last night. This deep in the money, and they got a 10 bagger. Like this is a person whose life has changed because of Robinhood and believing in it when a lot of the street didn't. So it's and there's so many other screenshots like that. And now, again, that's another toppy thing. People are sharing their screenshots. I get it. I get it, but it's also one of those things where it's like, hey, this is real money being made by retail. And if he takes that, let's say he sells half of it, he asked me what I would do. I would have sell half. I would at least take my initial out, which I think for him is like 50,000, or I would sell half and let the rest ride. And then I would just either buy the stock, or I would buy Grab, which I think is, heavily undervalued here. I would buy Nvidia. I would buy something of quality. I would buy more Hood, and you de-risk and you're in stock. And you got a lot of people where if they're benefiting off their option gains and they just end up buying the underlying equity, that is also very good for the broader market. So it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. Austin says, I built my entire Hood position right before the election, 4x. Yeah, I mean, it's just been an incredible market for retail. And you only got to get a couple winners. You don't need a lot of winners to change your life. You only need one. If you get two, that's great. If you find three, incredible. But realistically, you only need one. I mean, how many people changed their life because of Tesla? 328 right here. And I know it's been kind of dead money for the past 5 years, but the Tesla cult that was in the Reddit threads every single day in 2013, 2014, believing that they knew what was going to happen, and then it happened. I mean, it's just an incredible journey. Especially if you're not starting your own company or like going to be the CEO of a public company, which most people on the planet never will, to be able to be intimately attached to another company's journey, especially when their founder is actually like embracing of the community of analysts that are not like traditional Wall Street guys, which is Karp, Elon, Vlad. That's how they kind of think of it. It's a special thing because it's just a cool way to be attached to something you're not building. You're not building Robinhood, Palantir, or Tesla, but you are investing in them and you're following their journey and you're covering how they build the company. And it's very cool to see it play out. Joby right here. That one goes flat. Webull still up 5%, Grab 535, SBET up 3. Red candles across the board, but some of those red candles don't have a ton of momentum behind them. I mean, S&P is down 0.04%. So we do have some red, but not crazy red. Rocket Lab, is that still below 50? 49.86, recovering a little bit, but that one is still below 50. I'm 57. If I would have had Robinhood in my 20s, I would be set. Young people are lucky. I mean, it's true, dude. It's very true. My generation, people in their 20s, people in their teens right now that have access to a brokerage on their phone that like it's not complicated to understand how to navigate it. It's a different world. And I think that's why the generation, even like I'm going to be 28 soon. The people that are 20 right now, right, 10 years younger, they are going to be growing up with a totally different way of thinking of financial literacy because, first of all, they're growing up with crypto. They're growing up with Robinhood. They know that like you can make money by investing. I mean, many of them are becoming just like even like, scrolling through TikTok and Instagram, like investing is becoming cool. It's becoming part of the cultural zeitgeist. And so for them, even putting a couple grand into something when they're young, making some extra side money from college and investing it, it's a big deal. And now you got 3 million babies every year that are born in the States that are going to have $1,000 to their name as soon as they're born. So it is just a game changer in terms of how this world is changing. Again, for Robinhood, that's really bullish because that means Robinhood's going to be having a generational catalyst. Trump is signing at 2:30. For the executive orders. That Dogecoin treasury is up 50%, 46 BTOG. That is the stock. Where is SMCI? Is that running? SMCI, that's up 2%. TSM had a good earnings yesterday. That one's down. All right. Market's kind of selling off the TSM earnings. Are they selling off Netflix? 5%. Not crazy, but it is down from earnings. SMCI right here, 53. TSM down 2. And then Ethereum. Ethereum's also down a little bit, 3670 to 3500. So there you go. I wish I could buy a house in Manhattan for 50,000 like the older guys could. Dude, okay, Manhattan $50,000 houses. That wasn't in the 80s, right? That had to go back down to like the 50s. Like, okay, let's see Gemini. What was the average price in the 1980s for Manhattan real estate? Let's see. Oh, dude. I mean, it's not 50, but it's not that bad. 125 to 150 for a 2-bedroom co-op in Midtown. Dude. Okay, so let's ask the same question, but for 2025. What is the average price in 2025 for Manhattan 2-bedroom? It is 125 in 1980. In 2025, okay, it's giving me rent. Let's see if I can get the full cost, not just rent. It's got to be way above 125, I would say. 1.2 million. 1.2 million. Wow. May of 2025, 1.2 million. Well, inflation, baby. Also, Manhattan real estate. I mean, that's really, forget inflation. That's just, New York is the greatest city in the world. It's the greatest city in the world. S&P 500 right here, 627. That's going red. And real estate in New York will, literally 10x. Real estate in New York will appreciate for being the greatest city in the world. Okay, I don't see any headlines for why we're red, guys. I really do think it's algos. Let me see if there's anything else. We have that Meta AI thing. I don't think that's that crazy. Oh, Basent's talking? No, that was 2 hours ago. Basent said trade deal remains in realm of possibility with Japan. He said a good deal is more important than a rushed one. That is 2 hours ago, so that's not moving anything. I think it's algos. It's a Friday. He had a great week. People are taking some profits. Michigan sentiment was great. I don't think there's anything other than the broader market taking profits right here going into the end of the weekend, or going into the weekend. What was the average salary back then? That's a good question. What was the average salary in New York City in the 1980s? Dude, this is why I love Gemini. It's really a Google overview. It's just so quick. It's like all you have to do is search and then boom, you get it. 26,000 to 30,000. Oh, well, that's inflation, baby. Yeah, now the average salary, 26,000. Okay, now it has to be like in the 200,000 range. Well, 430. Damn. Average salary in New York is 430. Dude, I thought it was like 250-ish. Monthly, 35,000. All right. Well, do median. Okay, let's see if that changes. Median is 79. Okay, well, that takes into account like everyone that lives in New York, not just people living in Midtown. Okay, what about median in 1980s? That's going to be lower than 25,000 then, right? Yeah, 21,000. So still, you know, when you make them proportional, at least that's what Google's saying. Dude, 400. I did not know the average salary in New York was 430 grand. That is aggressive. Grab right there, 529. Yeah, you're getting red candles across the board. Tesla 327. SoFi, blues is 22. Where's Hoodie? Are we still holding 110? Dude, we're still holding 111, bro. We are still holding one. Wow. I mean, give me 111 if we're going to have a red day. I'll take it. I will freaking take that. Yes, median is more representative. That is correct because you're including literally everybody. But still, dude, that's a lot. That's aggressive in New York. Yeah, the average salary is definitely okay. So The median is likely 90. Well, when they're saying 430, again, the problem why it's skewed. This is when we were looking at net worths a couple of weeks ago. You have a lot of people in New York that are making a lot of money, like hedge fund managers, influencers, all these freaking these people who work in show business, right? All the CBS, NBC, all those executives, like their salaries are in the millions. So it really skews the average. So the median is a better representation. But if you're living in Midtown in a 2-bedroom apartment, you're probably making close to $500,000, bro. At least, or you and your spouse collectively. Like, otherwise, it would just be hard to afford it. Now, if you're living in a shoebox in New York, you don't have to make $500,000, but you're also living in a shoebox, right? So that's the difference. Why is Nebius tanking? Probably with the broader market right here. And CoreWeave, Nebius, down 3. Oh, let's do an ETF update. Corey right here, that's down 4%. If I didn't have Duolingo, guys, I really do think I would be second behind Matt, or at least very close to Tanner. I still think Duolingo can do well though by the end of by next year. Like, I think their growth is going to be fine. It's just I got them at a very high price, bro. That's the issue. If I can even break even on them, that wouldn't be bad. All right, Matt is up 17. Tanner's up 12. I'm up 8. Steve's up 1. Chris is -1. So Matt's biggest winner is Rocket Lab and ABCL and SoFi. His biggest loser is Oscar and Dutch Bros. My biggest winner is Hoodie 45, AMD 24, and then Grab 12. Biggest loser is Duolingo. Dude, look at this. Outside of Duolingo, I don't have anything that bad. Tesla's barely down. Visa's barely down. If I did not have Duolingo, even Apple is actually up 6% for me. The stupid owl ruined my freaking draft, bro. Why did you guys, we're supposed to work together. I don't know why you guys let me pick that. Steve right here, MicroStrategy is doing great for him. Hims is ruining it. And then Micron is getting him hit. Also Netflix, he's now down on that a little bit. And then Tanner, he has an incredible one. Shopify, amazing. Coinbase, amazing. TSM, amazing. NVIDIA, amazing. And then Nubank's doing great. So Tanner's crushing it. And then Matt, we looked at. And then Chris, Elf is hurting him. Novo's hurting him. And Oracle's helping him. But Elf and Novo and UNH and Lily are hurting his portfolio. So that's what we got with the ETF ones. That's what we got with some of these on the ETF. S&P 627, that's red. That is red. You have been practicing your language, Matt. The funniest thing is I picked Duolingo and then I go on a literal 1-week rant. I think it was every day 2 weeks ago. I for some reason got on this rant about how teaching language in schools is ridiculous compared to financial literacy. And magically, Duolingo goes from 470 to, where the hell is this stupid stock at? Where is it at? 362. Just magically, as I'm ranting about how language learning is not irrelevant, but in comparison to financial literacy, I think we know which one schools should prioritize. The stock tends to just take a hit. I don't know. Just feels a little suspicious to me. Feels a little suspicious. Dougie, thank you for the gifted 5 members. 5 of you guys just got gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for Mr. Dougie. Appreciate that. Thank you for being part of the channel and supporting every single day. 5 of you guys just got memberships. Brendan says, are my covered calls on Palantir for 130 cooked? What would you roll to? I think they are cooked because Palantir is now at 155. It is very, very above your strike. So I would roll it out honestly to like end of 2026. And I would try to go for like 170, 180. I would have to know the specifics on what credit you paid for it or what credit you got. Or, you could definitely get a net credit. You go to December 2027, 220. Now you might be thinking, hey, Amit, by December 2027, Palantir is definitely going to be above 220. Maybe, but 2 things. Number 1, as Adam talked about yesterday, you get 130 to 220. So you get an extra $90 a share, which is what you should care about. Number 2, we all know Palantir is expensive here. I'm not saying it can't get to 220 by the end of 2027, but it also could just consolidate for a bit and maybe get close to that, but not necessarily get above it. And when it gets to 220 by then, if it stays around that 200, 220 range, you could roll it again. So the only way you salvage this situation without rolling is Palantir tanks on earnings, which they could. But if they don't, and even if they do, if they tank to like 135, 140, you know, you're not really getting that much juice. You'll be able to manage the situation a little bit better, but it's not like it's a perfect situation. And if they crush on earnings and this stock gets to 165, 170, I mean, then it's just going to be harder to roll it. So I would probably, I would take action now is what I'm trying to say. Like my mom had 145s for last week and the stock was at like 147. I could tell it wanted to break out to 150. I rolled it to 190 for December. And it's so funny what Adam was saying is my mom was like, but I can't make any premium then. I was like, Mom, the premium is not the prize. The premium matters when the stock is flat. If you have no faith that the stock's going to stay flat anymore, you hold on to the shares, especially if you really want to keep the shares. So if it goes to 190, that's a good problem to deal with in December. And if it doesn't, okay, you don't get any premium, but even if it gets to 170, 180, you get to qualify for those returns, which is the most important thing. So that's what we got right there in the context of Palantir. BMNR right here, that is up 11%. Where's the rest of your t-shirt of it? You guys are having fun with this one. You guys are having fun with this. And Duolingo should teach options. Yes, they should. I mean, they should teach financial literacy, which I feel like eventually it's an easy one for them to do. Okay, let's get back to Yardeni real quick. Let's just finish up with what he has to say, and then we'll keep going from there.
Whether or not you can marry your views about the Fed and what they should do with what Waller said last night.
No, I can't. Look, last year, late last year, when the Fed cut the federal funds rate by 100 basis points, I said that was a mistake, and I thought that the bond yield would go up. It went up more than I thought. The Fed lowered by 100 basis points, and the bond yield went up by 100 basis points. And a lot of people are looking at the mortgage rate and saying, why isn't the mortgage rate still so high? So the bond vigilantes really pushed up bond yields. And the problem we have here is we're in nirvana. We're there. The dual mandate is to keep unemployment low and inflation is low. And that's where we are. 4.1% unemployment rate, that's full employment. And inflation is close enough to 2%, 2.5%, 3%. It probably would have gotten there sooner without the tariffs, but it will get there. So interest rates are exactly where they should be. And if they continue to, if they do what Waller wants to do and what the president wants to do, you'll get a melt up that then risks a situation of a meltdown.
Do you not see any liabilities for the labor market or anything approaching stall speed the way Waller put it?
No, I think, I mean, you know, they should be data dependent. They should wait until the data actually conclusively indicates that. And the data quite the opposite. You saw initial unemployment claims, the lowest in 3 months. I mean, where's the problem in the labor market?
There's problems. I mean, continuing claims have been elevated and climbing. ADP has shown some weakness. Last month's jobs report was good, but it came from government. It was local government and school hiring. So, I mean, you could definitely find cracks. You can make an argument, I think, on both.
There's maybe a reason for why the market's going a little red. Top Republican on House China Committee objects to resumption of NVIDIA H20 chip shipments to China in letter to Lutnick. NVIDIA goes down. Okay, so they don't want to release the Epstein files, but they want to make sure NVIDIA can't sell their chips to China. Phenomenal representatives we have in the House of Representatives for this country, folks. Absolutely phenomenal. Just like very, very smart people, like really, really smart people. Top Republican on the House China Committee objects to resumption of NVIDIA H20 chips. AMD is going to dip with that as well. That could be your red candle for the market. That could be your red candle for the market. That would definitely mess up some of the AI momentum we've seen. Now, NVIDIA was at 165 on Monday, so any close above 170 would still be so bullish. But AMD as well went from like 147 to 160 this week. But that will take down the semis. This is just stupid, bro. Like this, we've talked about this over. Jensen has talked so in depth about why it's okay to sell chips to China. Like they're acting like we're giving away these top secret. Like the fact that we have TikTok in this country with the CCP literally programming our youth, and we are somehow afraid of selling them our greatest asset, which are GPUs, which they're going to figure out how to build anyway with Huawei. We might as well have them build on our tech stack versus a Chinese tech stack. And we're not even giving them the best chips. We're giving them the bootleg version of it. Like, some of these Republican senators are just stupid, bro. They're genuinely just not smart human beings. Like, they're really dumb people. And unfortunately, they represent us. And a lot of them, quite frankly, don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't even know how Meta makes money. Senator, we run ads. It's like, it's like, it's ridiculous. But that is your red candle right there on the semis. SMH is probably down right here. SMH is down 0.5%. Micron's probably down on that. Micron's actually up. Okay, that was taking a beating all week, so that one's getting some recovery. Broadcom, that's down. TSM, now that explains why TSM's getting hit a little harder. Dell, all the semis. Dell's actually, okay, so the server sides are green. Dell and SMCI are green today. Might be something going on with the server racks, but the other semis are red. ASML, is that recovering at all? ASML is still down. Wow, ASML, new low for the week, 739. 739. There you go. They're red. Ultimately, I think it's a nothing burger. I mean, Lutnick's not going to take that letter seriously, especially because Lutnick knows that Trump wants to make sure that rates come down. So, not that rates come down, that we get to deal with China. And to get to deal with China, we probably have to give some of these NVIDIA chips up. So, I mean, it's a nothing burger. They could write as many letters as they want, but it's not going to stop us from ultimately selling chips to China.
Both sides.
There's arguments on both sides, I suppose, but I think initial claims is really what matters because it's so highly correlated with the unemployment rate. Yeah, it's taking a little longer to find a job, and that's probably because we got a mismatch. Kids are coming out of college with degrees that the market doesn't really need at this point.
Well,
but
that's a whole
all in all,
other can of worms. I mean,
that's
yeah.
another.
I just want to ask you really quickly, Ed, since you are the father of the bond vigilantes and you mentioned them, I wonder if they're having a moment in Japan right now. People have been really
Absolutely.
fixated this week on the sharp rise, especially in the long end. Japan, they have a parliamentary election. They
Right.
promised, some more fiscal spending, which is not what Japan needs as one of the most indebted developed markets. What's your read there?
Guys, in the new apartment, should I have books in the background? Doesn't he look so smart? He's like, yeah, look at me. I read all these books. I'll buy 200 books. I'll put them in the background. Can I buy like 200 book props from Amazon or something? I don't think I've read a book in a while. I read a lot every day. I read a lot of articles. I read a lot of equity reports, but I don't read books anymore. But I feel like that would make me look smart.
Well, the Japanese financial markets, policy, economy has kind of been almost like the poster child for the rest of us. They were early on with zero interest rates, with quantitative easing, and with the government debt exploding and being purchased by the central bank. And here they may be giving us a warning that if we continue to go down this road of unsustainable fiscal stimulus, huge deficits, the bond vigilantes are going to react badly, which is why I think the Fed has to be very careful. They may lower interest rates, but we had our own lesson at the end of last year. They lowered rates and the bond yields went up.
Right. We'll keep a close eye on the elections on Sunday. And
all right, so he is saying we should care about what's going on with Japan and we shouldn't completely write it off. Again, I think Japan is going through a renaissance of people waking up to the fact that buying Japanese debt cannot be the strategy anymore. NVIDIA kind of recovering. It's barely down on that headline, but it is still red. And they're buying Bitcoin. They're buying Bitcoin instead. So that could be one of the things going on for why that Japanese 30-year is just not getting the type of demand it gets anymore. S&P kind of recovering, folks. Grab still holding 530. Hoodie, are we still holding 111? Are we still holding 111? We're still holding 111. I mean, we've seen this happen over the past couple of days as well, or at least the past 2 days. We went red around 10:30, 11, and then we end up going pretty green by the end of the day. So if it's a nothing burger, maybe we move forward. Weeble right here, 4% up for holding Weeble. Breaking the 15s, not bad. Rocket Lab still down 3%. Netflix, slight recovery, was at 12.01. Now it's at 12.12. But that one's still down 4%. And then TSM, that's down 2%. Bro, you actually have to read the books. See, here's the thing with reading. I don't have the attention span to sit there and flip the pages and read. Now, that does not mean I don't read. I can't talk about all the stuff I talked about this morning unless I read, right? There's a lot of things I subscribe to. I've subscribed to the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg. Like whenever I need an article, I get it. By the way, I was reading the Wall Street Journal hit piece yesterday on Trump. They said freaking Trump and Epstein. Trump sent a birthday letter to Epstein. I don't know if that's real, bro. It looks pretty damn fake, but it was some blockbuster article. I didn't even tweet about it because I was like, this looks so fake, bro. It's like, so it's not even worth discussing. There's like just there's no confirmation of him sending a birthday letter to Epstein. He should release the files, but whatever the Wall Street Journal published yesterday, I don't know if that was real at all. But the point is I read a lot. I read a lot of equity reports in the morning before I get on the show so I can talk about price target upgrades. But sitting there and reading a book, bro, I haven't done that in a minute. I also listen to a lot of podcasts, which is not an audiobook, I guess, but it's still a lot of listening throughout the day. Yeah, the last time I wrote that many words was the 17-page thesis on Grab, which I actually read 2 times front to back myself because I wanted to read it to see if it made sense. So that's like the last thing I read as like a book type of thing, like Book of Grab or whatever. But I mean, put in the chat, do you guys read? Do you guys actually like spend time during the week reading a book? And I think that's totally fine if you do. I don't know, dude. Usually when I have time to relax, I'll put on a podcast instead of reading. So it's just not that much reading. And again, it's one of those, I don't know. It's like, it's just, I have nothing against it. It's just hard to sit there and focus on reading. But when I read like actual stock market stuff all day, I'm just way more into it. Like last week, I was looking up a ton of articles on Grab from 2021 and 22. There's this website called the Straits Times. Some of you guys might know it in Southeast Asia, the Straits Times, or it's in Singapore. This is a great website that has covered Grab and their journey for a long time. I'll put it right here in the chat. And I searched Grab on their website and I started trying to read every freaking article I could about the company. And so that's what I mean when I do reading. But when it comes to actual books, it's your newspaper in Southeast Asia. Yeah, these guys get, I think these guys get like 20 million web visits a month, if I'm not wrong. I'll check right here. The Straits Times, they get, 14 million visits a month. So it's big for the Southeast Asian regions, or for region and particularly for Singapore. But still don't read as many books. It's our newspaper. It's our national newspaper. Okay, that makes sense. It makes sense. I'll link the Grab thesis in a second. I'll link it. It's a Google Doc that I wrote. Okay, so I'm seeing like some of you guys say you read, but I'm not seeing a ton of people say I read books every day or every week. I just listen to Rogan if I want info. Yeah, I think a lot of people trust content creators and independent media for how to access information. And for me, it's just more efficient. It's way more efficient if I can just listen to something versus sit down and read it, because my mind is constantly running all day, and just having something in the background is easier. So IBKR up 7%. Yeah, there you go. IBKR right here, 63.70. That dude, Thomas Pettery. You guys were as shocked as I was when I found out 2 weeks ago. Thomas Pettery, the CEO and founder of IBKR, the guy is worth $70 billion. $70 billion. So yesterday he was giving an interview and he was like, yeah, everything's going great. Market's doing well. We're crushing on earnings. And he was smiling. And I don't know. I think he's like 75. How old is this guy? But he's freaking worth 70 billion. He's worth more today now because of the stock. He is 80 years old. 80 years old. Which is pretty incredible. So everything Rogan says is a fact. That's a well-known fact. Well, look, here's the thing. Obviously, you're not going to get every single piece of information that is highlighting both sides on Joe Rogan, right? But you're also not going to get that if you read a book. Like if you read a book that has a certain angle in terms of how it's portraying something, you're going to get a bias. So there's always going to be a bias with whatever content you consume. The goal is in your content diet to hopefully try to get as many sides of the aisle as you can. And I think at least when it pertains to the stock market on the show, I think although we've been very bullish, I try to present, literally, dude, yesterday on the market close, we covered the Dogecoin stuff. This morning, we covered a bunch of different things that feel very toppy, the Tom Lee, Pudgy Penguin stuff, all this, right? Like, so I try to bring in the hey, bearish, hey, toppy, hey, this makes me feel uneasy type of stuff. But we try to reconcile it with all the other pieces of data that we're looking at because the market has just so many moving parts. And the goal of this show is to try to bring everything together. From a political perspective, dude, I listen to a ton of political stuff and I really do try to get both sides. Breaking Points is kind of my favorite because they're more independent media, but I will listen to the right wing. I will listen to Fox News clips. I will listen to CNN clips. I will really try to get multiple perspectives because I personally don't want to be indoctrinated. I want to know what do both sides think. So I think if you have a content information diet, it definitely helps to diversify some of that content and hopefully finding independent media keeps it balanced. BMNR right here, still up 9%. Coinbase up 5%. Bitcoin 118. Market's relatively flat right here, not moving too much. Is Tesla still holding 330? Tesla 327. Holding 327. I just listened to Tom Lee, the GOAT. Yes. Listening to Tom Lee as well is not the worst thing. I mean, why not submit your graph thesis to Seeking Alpha? I just don't really like going through those third-party platforms. I kind of just like going direct. So, also, I think it's too long for Seeking Alpha. Dude, Seeking Alpha has all these weird restrictions, Bo. So many weird ways on how they approve an article, don't approve an article. It's an AI did not. I promise you, AI did not write it. Like if it did, I would just say it. I have no shame. Like I wrote the only words I didn't write were the quotes that I copy and pasted from the earnings call. I wrote every word. Like I gotta see. I have a group chat that I texted. I'll see if I can find the text message. I was texting one of the group chats I'm in with my friends, and I was like, it's Friday night, 12:20 a.m. And I texted them a screenshot of my Google Docs, and I'm like, I'm just writing. I came back from New York. That was the day Mateo was on the market close. Why was I in New York? I was in New York to meet Adam, not the Adam that was on yesterday, the other Adam. He's OG Palantir as well. And I had dinner with Steve that day, and I came home. It was 12:20. I had leftover freaking chicken parm, and I started writing. Because Grab went to 450 that day, and I was pretty annoyed. I was like, dude, am I just completely missing this? And I felt like I had to sit down and collect all the due diligence and just write it out. But in general, if you go through Seeking Alpha, it's like they have all these restrictions on like how you can publish stuff. So sometimes going direct to people is a better way of doing it. I put it right there in the chat if anyone wants to read it. I put it right there in the chat. Are you reading this denial from AI right now? No, I'm not. But did you know the Nile is a river in Egypt? I was about to say Jordan again, but I legit was about to say Jordan again. It's in Egypt. It's in Egypt, not in Jordan. It's in Egypt. Hazem, thanks for the $5 super chat. Admit my cover call for Palantir 160 expiration is on July 25th. What would you do? Should I roll it up? I don't want my shares to get called away. No, I wouldn't touch. Well, actually, I would wait, dude. I would wait for Palantir to get closer to 155, 156 for you to roll that. I don't think that one, because if it was after earnings, I would say yes. But earnings is August 4th. This is before earnings. I would wait till 156, 157. I think you're in a good spot. It's at 153. It has to move up another $7 in a week. It could. But I think even if it gets to like 157, 158, I think you're going to be all right. So if it gets to 156, 157 immediately, I would say, all right, I'll roll it. And I think you should be in a good spot given you're still deeply out of the money. But yeah, I wouldn't touch it right now. I don't think you need to touch that at the moment. Chicago, thanks for the $5 super chat. I used to watch Stock Mo, found you, and got into Palantir at 25. Thanks, Amit. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I think the cool thing about this community is just we're all here together. There's lots of other financial YouTubers you guys could be watching. And I think the one thing that's differentiated on this channel is it really does feel like a community. It kind of feels fun being all together and interacting with each other. And that's what makes it different. And so I'm very, very blessed every day that you guys choose to be here. Broadcom right here down about 1%. Duolingo is going up a little bit. Rocket Lab down 4%. And then Grab right there at 5.33. Holding on. Oh, Figure AI. I'm happy you gave me an update, or you said that in the chat. Figure did introduce some updates. So this is a private humanoid startup. Disclosure, I am invested in them, but they could be theoretically the major competitor to Tesla one day. Here is what they put out yesterday. It's a new update on their batteries. They tend to have dramatic music. That's just how they are. Sometimes a little cringe. I get it, but that's what they do. So this is their Figure 3 battery. They are getting ready to ramp up production to 100,000 robots. And again, this is bullish Tesla because it means if they're making progress, we know Tesla's making progress. And as long as we see more progress in the industry, that's going to be important for everybody. They really are good with the marketing on the videos, bro. Like these guys, like, and again, they kind of Tesla doesn't need to do this because everyone knows Tesla's good at manufacturing. Figure needs to prove that they can manufacture. Tesla, they've proven it with the cars. So they don't need to do this type of fancy smashy stuff. But Figure, they need to prove, hey, like, we can actually manufacture and you shouldn't discount us. So here's what they said. Advancements across 3 generations of battery technologies has resulted in 78% cheaper, higher safety and reliability, faster charge with active cooling, and significant energy density and improvements. They also then say our structural battery pack features a high-strength enclosure made of stamped steel, die-cast aluminum structural adhesives. This enables it to withstand a 1-meter drop onto concrete from any angle. We have an active cooling system. We've created an active cooling system with integrated cooling components. This reduces thermal resistance and local heat, allowing fast charging with basic force convection cooling. Anti-propagation. They go further and further. I'll leave the link right here in the chat for anyone who wants to read up their white paper on this. But, I mean, it's some good stuff, bro. They're not a joke. They're not a joke. They are getting ready to really ramp up manufacturing and get these robots into the world. And NVIDIA is going to get a lot of money as these robots these robot companies have to buy more GPUs. NVIDIA right here, 172. And that's going to be, another tailwind, another S curve for NVIDIA. Robinhood right here, just below 111, 110.9 on Robinhood. Again, the robots, they're not fully in production yet, doing something amazing. I think it takes time, but also Tesla's not showing that off either. So it's one of those things where I think these are going to be 2 massive winners, but the fact that they're moving this quick and they're getting the batteries right, they're getting the large language models to interact with the vision learning models for the robots. I mean, I think it's 5 years, but it's going to happen. And when it does happen, I think it is going to be an iPhone moment in terms of everyone will have a robot. Now, granted, I think in the enterprise, the robots will succeed way more than in the retail sector because robots are going to be expensive. But once robots get to 20, 30,000 a pop, people are going to be buying it, especially if they can actually do stuff in your home. But inside of like an Amazon warehouse, Walmart, that's where I think the real money is going to be made for these robots. Greg, thank you for the $10 super chat. I have 7,000 for a Roth IRA. Not sure where to put it. Grab Hood, Pouncer, NVIDIA, something else. Thanks for your help. Still new to this. Personally, dude, I said this yesterday to someone. They were like, hey, what would you do with your Roth IRA? Which is kind of what I'm doing. I'm putting it into Grab. I mean, I'm not doing my Roth. I'm doing my solo 401k. I think it is undervalued at these levels. I genuinely think over the next 10 years, they're going to be a behemoth in Southeast Asia. Your solo 401k, your Roth is something you don't want to touch. You don't want to worry about. You literally don't even want to look at it. I think Grab at $5. That's what I'm doing with my solo 401k once I contribute to it. I don't know if it'll be $5 when I end up making the contribution, but even if it's 6, 7, if it's something I legit am not going to open for like the next 10 years, like I don't want to actively manage my solo 401k or my retirement. That's why most people buy the S&P, because they don't want to actively manage it, right? They just want to like buy it and know that retirement is going to be okay. Obviously, I think you should have ETFs in there because that's just pure safe. But if you do want 1 or 2 alpha plays in the retirement, not in your actual brokerage account, I think picking a name that is asymmetric to the upside is something that helps and that has a long runway. I think Grab's going to be around for the next 10, 20 years. So that runway is not the worst idea. Yeah, Roth IRA is like a TFSA in Canada. It's you can contribute $7,500. Is it 7,000? 7,000 a year. I think if you're like above 50, it's 8,000. And it grows tax free. I bought Grab at 3. My girl lived in Thailand and it was amazing. It was such a cheap stock. She said it will continue to dominate Southeast Asia and was in the best in their space by far. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing a lot from people in the region. And so, it's and again, it's not just like I woke up one morning, I was like, oh, Southeast Asia, that's cool. It's like I looked at the numbers. The numbers are inflecting. All the numbers are inflecting to the upside. That doesn't mean the stock's going to move, but it means that you want to buy when the numbers are getting ready to be good, which is when Pouncer and Hood broke out from that $7 range. And I'm not saying Grab is Pouncer Hood. I'm just saying like those numbers are starting to look a lot better. S&P 627, Nebius down 2.9. Netflix is still down 5%. Grab up 1.8. Open Door still up 22. Coinbase up 5. Circle gave up a lot. Circle was at 270 or 263. Now it's at 235. Hims is down 1.7. And then Oscar still getting hit, down 1.4. TFSA is not tax-free if you buy American dividend stocks. Okay, I did not know that. Grab is in the Philippines. Yes, that is correct. Talked to an architect from Hong Kong just last week. He has offices all over Southeast Asia and says everyone uses it. Dude, they are the they are the guys in Southeast Asia. And they have a founder-led CEO, and I love their CFO and their chief operating officer. Like I deeply studied the C-suite because you're investing in people at the end of the day, and this C-suite is top-notch. It's just they SPAC'd at $60 billion, bro. That was the issue. They SPAC'd at a shitty valuation, and they've been punished for 5 years, and now things are coming together, and that's why I think the street's starting to recognize it a lot more. Okay, let's see what else we got. It's 11 a.m. Let's see if there's any other updates. Trump, do we have anything? Bloomberg, let's see. The NVIDIA headline was the only headline I'm really seeing that was important. S&P's flat. Bitcoin's at 118. We saw the Meta news. Oh, Bank of America. All right. They upgrade Google to 210. The upgrades are coming through, folks. The upgrades are coming through. We expect search revenue to grow 11% year over year versus street at 9%. That would be a big deal, bro. Last year was 13%, 13.4. If Google does 11% versus 9%, I think the stock rallies because although it's down year over year, if it's above street consensus, that means search is not dead. That means they're monetizing potentially AI overviews. That would be big. That makes sense that Bank of America is raising their target on that. For Google Cloud, we estimate $13.2 billion with workspace pricing and increases offering potential upside. All right, so they're increasing their EPS and revenue targets. And that's what's helping right here. Okay, Robinhood's losing 110. That's okay. If the street's going red, it's going to retest it. The fact that we even got to almost 114 today was incredible. Dude, it's so funny. Robinhood was like 105 last night. I was watching Tanner stream and someone asked him about Hood. And he was like, oh, yeah, well, Hood's at 105. And I commented in the chat. I was like, no, Tanner, it's at 108, bro. He was like, what do you mean we're at 108? I was like, dude, look at the overnight markets. It's 108. It's 108. So the fact that it even got to 113 today, dude, pretty incredible. Bank of America also upgraded Microsoft. Oh, that's another reason. Yeah, you're right. You are right. I saw that in the morning. Microsoft right here. I mean, like Dan Ives gave them 600. I mean, I think people think this is the next $4 trillion company behind NVIDIA because it's either Microsoft or fill in the blank. Someone in the chat, fill in the blank. How do you like? It's either Microsoft at 3.8 trillion, which is really close, or Palantir? I mean, no, I'm just kidding. But who is it? Like, I knew you guys would say Palantir. Meta, right? It's not Google. I think it's gonna be Google. Tesla is still way far behind the 2 trillion mark versus Google and Meta. It has to be Google or Meta, right? Like, who else is it? Amazon just doesn't have amazing margins, bro. That's the only thing. They just don't have. I mean, AWS is great, but the rest of their business just does not make that good of a margin. Now, operating margins are better at 12.1%. They were at 7% 7 quarters ago. So, I mean, obviously it's increased, but I feel like to get to 4 trillion, you got to be producing a lot of net income, and Google produces the most net income out of everybody. I just think Google has that search overhang. Is it Apple? Apple's still at 3 trillion, 3.1. They're the closest compared to Google and Meta. Rob, thank you for the $100 super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Which covered call for Palantir would you sell expiring on August 15th? 180, 185, or 90? All right, let's look at that right now. By the way, NVIDIA 171. Market's going red. We are going red, folks. We are going red. 11 a.m. today, we're starting to see some red. Palantir 152. All right, so August 15th, the street's going to pay you $2 for 190, $264 for 185, 165 for 190. I would sell the 190. I would sell the 190 of August 15th. That's a 0.15 delta. I feel like that's safe. 185 also is not that crazy at all. 190 is very conservative. And you're still picking up $2 a share, dude. Like that means today you could buy Palantir. You could spend $15,200, 200 divided by 15,200. That is still a 1.3% return in less than a month for Palantir to get to 190 if you bought it today at 152. I mean, this is why the derivatives market is so important, I think, for people to understand. What other business gives you 1% on your money in a month for a stock to have to go up basically 30%, 27%? And if it goes up 27%, I mean, like, you got a good problem to deal with. And you can easily roll that call. And if you have a heavy position in Palantir, right, 10, 15,000 shares, you sell 5,000 of those, 50 of those contracts, right, representing half your shares to pick up some of that income. It's not crazy. It's not a crazy idea. Now, if you get super, super aggressive, like, oh, I'm going to be cute and sell the 160 call, and then Palantir goes to 170, like, then it's bad. But if you're not going to be, that's what Adam was preaching yesterday. If you don't get cute, if you want to make an extra 1% a month, like, we're not, the covered calls are not promising you 700% in a month like some of these other YouTubers that are trying to get you to buy the courses on how to trade options. This is a very, very conservative way to just get a little bit of extra income, but that little bit of extra income can go a long way. SoFi right here, 21.58. All right, so that's down 2.3. Robinhood's trying to hold 110. ASML's down 1. IBK are still holding up. Palantir's down 1%. Broadcom down 1.7. Micron up half. S&P, is that the dip? Down 0.1. There's already a green candle, bro. 626.91 back to 627.35. Was 626.91 the dip? My goodness, bro. I know I'm saying we're dumping, but we're not really dumping. We're going red, but it's just not like full on, 1 or 2% down red. But it is red. I bought the 195 yesterday and made 18K on 100 contracts. Wow. There you go. So Elaine on 10,000 shares made $18,000, assuming Palantir won't go to 195, or at least we'll stay below it. Not horrible. Not horrible at all. Check out your grab options. Let me see. I don't think they're really moving that much today. Where is it at? Yeah, dude. So these are, look, it's funny. Let me show you guys this. They're the exact same price I showed you guys on Monday when grab was 5% below the current price right now. So when you buy call debit spreads, you guys can see this, right? They have a long time, at least Leap call debit spreads, they have a long time for maturity. So the option price, like this morning, it got to 40 cents, which means I would have been up like $22,000. And right now they're at 30 cents. They are highly illiquid. You're not going to get good fills on these. But that's the point. You want to get the best price you can get before they become very liquid, and it's going to take about a year for them to get liquid from expiration. Right now, we're still about 1.5 years out. It's the same thing that happened on Hood. You see, right now, it just jumped up to 32 cents. And so that $10,000 loss turned into a $5,000 loss. So with these, the stock has to materially make its move to the long end of my call, which is 750, for us to see like an actual material repricing of these spreads. However, I didn't think people would be able to get them filled at 30 cents. For my sister, I bought her 80 more spreads yesterday at 30 cents. Somehow, look, they just went to 35. There you go. Now we're up 2,000. They just went to 35 cents. So they're super volatile up or down. And I actually got some filled at 30 cents for my sister, I think 2 days ago. But like that's because grab fell to 25. So because the option price fell to 25% because I think grab fell to like 505 and it got filled at 30 cents. But I think to realistically get filled, you got to probably bid up at 35 or 40 cents. But over time, as the theta decays and as the stock hopefully moves in the right direction to the upside, that's when those spreads start to mature. However, the $10 call, which is one of the ones I'm sold short on grab, that got a lot of option flow yesterday, guys. The $10 call for 2027 and the $550 call for August 15th. A lot of option volume. There were 194,000 calls traded yesterday, 18,000 puts. That's a 0.1% call to put ratio, which is pretty damn bullish. So you do have those options that are beginning to heat up for grab. CoreWeave down 4.5. Microsoft's getting hit a little bit here. And then the S&P, again, it's, some stocks are down 2 to 3%. The S&P is down 50 cents. It's down 0.08%. So It's not getting too crazy. I mean, would you roll Tesla July 25th, 340 call? So you got to ask yourself, do you think Tesla's going to crush earnings? The answer, in my opinion, is no. Obviously, they're not going to crush earnings. We know the numbers are going to suck. However, that doesn't mean Elon can't wax poetic about robotaxis and Tesla just jumps high after earnings. Having said that, that usually tends to dump after it pumps because then everyone wakes up and was like, well, there's no progress to like actually be excited about. It's just Elon saying Elon things. And then we come back down. So I think you could roll it if you're afraid it's going to pump. But if you don't and you just go through it and Tesla gets like 340, 350, you can roll it after that and kind of just allow it to eventually consolidate. Because I don't think Tesla's going to 400 off this earnings. Now, maybe I'll be wrong, but I just think it's a lot of hype. It's not numbers. And I only think hype gets you so far, dude. I think this is not one of those markets where it's all hype. I know the pudgy penguin stuff feels like it's all hype, but at the end of the day, if Robinhood puts up bad numbers, this stock's going to go down. If Amazon puts up bad numbers, it will go down. Netflix, they put up numbers that are not bad, but they're not fantastic. Guess what? The stock's down 5%. So I don't think Tesla can get away with just saying, we're going to have fancy smanchy robots and robotaxis and then just magically go to 350. Like, I really don't. I'm still going to be buying before earnings. I already walked through why I'm going to be buying, but still, I'm going to be selling calls against it because I think it's going to be range bound. And kind of that's how I would play Tesla. But that's how I'd be thinking about it. So you could roll it, but I don't think you have to. Did you do any DD on D local? I have not personally, but there are a lot of people on X, if you search for their ticker, that have done DD on D local. And so there's a good community there, but I personally have not done a ton of research on that. Arnie will be on the channel soon, guys. He's been traveling. Arnie's been doing what? Arnie's been living the Palantir investor dream. He went all in at like $7. He has a little bit of Hood too, a little bit of Tesla, but majority is just Palantir. And he has sold no covered calls. He sold some at like $60, $70, but like majority of his position is there. And he's just like traveling the world. So he's been traveling a lot. And that's why he hasn't really been on the channel recently. But he's just living his best life. He's living his best life. So hopefully we'll get him on the channel soon for ABCL. And we'll get to do a deep dive on that. Yeah, Italian Stallion, bro. That's what he's doing. No, we're not doing any due diligence on the stupid Duolingo owl. Although my boy Dexter did put out a video yesterday about them. Dexter, he's also in Singapore. He loves Duolingo. This is the founder of Duolingo. By the way, I really like this guy. He's a really dope guy. I just hate that I picked the stock this high. This is him talking about how they grew their TikTok account.
At the time, told me, hey, I need you to let me hire a few people that are very young, straight out of college, because I just think they have ideas that we older people don't have. And I'm like, sure, you do that. And then she brought up the resumes of a couple of people that she wanted to hire. And I looked at the resumes and I was like, absolutely not. These were not like the other resumes at Duolingo. Most resumes at Duolingo look like all of you. Like they super fancy school, perfect GPA, etc. These resumes, not like that. But anyways, I trusted her and I said, sure, I'll let you hire them. And she did. She hired these two people. And one of them, it at some point pitched to me. I was in the pitch that they wanted to start a TikTok account. And I'm like, why? And then they showed me some of the videos that they wanted to do. And I'm like, this is not going to work. So I did not think it was going to work, but they begged me to let them do it. And I thought there was no downside to let them do it because I'm like, look, nobody's going to watch this. So it doesn't matter. You're going to put your funny content. It's not even funny, it's just weird. Your weird content out there. And nobody's going to watch it. So there's no downside. Go ahead. It turned out I was wrong. TikTok is now, it may be if it's not it's one of the most followed, like top 5 most followed brands on TikTok in the world. There are weeks where we have the single most viral video in all of TikTok. And it now accounts for something like 20% of our new users. I was wrong.
20% of their new users because of TikTok. I mean, and I love that part of the overall thesis. By the way, I'm kidding. If we really do want to do a Duolingo deep dive, we can do it. I'm just being, I'm joking around with the stock, but I really do admire the company. The founder, he sold, that guy you're looking at, he sold a company to Google. I believe it was called DoubleClick, which was DoubleClick's a big part of Google Ads today. It's in their advertising infrastructure. He sold that company for a couple billion to Google, and then he started Duolingo. So the guy is a rock star entrepreneur. Like you can try, like just him alone is a thesis to trust in Duolingo. I just picked it in the ETF while it was very expensive, but we have a year. So I think there's a shot it recovers. The growth is like upwards of 40-50%. And although I don't think language learning is as important as financial literacy, millions of people across the world use it. So we could do a deep dive if people want, but the fact that their TikTok gets 20% of their user growth, I mean, it just shows how incredibly well-versed the interns they hired were at social media and how they absolutely exploded their go-to-market. I mean, to get 20% of your users from TikTok, that materially changes your public market capitalization if your user growth is coming from an intern who's posting TikToks. Like that's a very valuable asset to the company. So yeah, Captcha Tech as well. Yeah, that was another thing that he created. I think that might have been the name of the company that he sold, Captcha Tech. Yeah, it's not DoubleClick, it was Captcha Tech. That's the thing where, like, when you try to sign on to a website, it needs to prove if you're a real human and you have to like do the CAPTCHA, click on the button, that he created that. His name is Lewis. So rockstar entrepreneur. And it's just a question of them continuing to maintain their growth. Let me see exactly who created CAPTCHA for Google. Yeah, it was him. It was him. Yep, it was him, Lewis. Okay, then let me ask, did create DoubleClick? I don't think he did. I don't think he had both. No, DoubleClick was a different guy. Okay, so CAPTCHA, that's the one he had, CAPTCHA. Okay, so then how much did Google buy CAPTCHA for? They bought it for, okay, it's undisclosed, but it looks like around upwards of 100 million. 2009. So there you go. Am I saying CAPTCHA wrong? There's no way I'm saying CAPTCHA wrong, bro. How do you say? There's no way I'm saying this stupid word wrong. How do you say CAPTCHA? Oh boy, I don't even want to press this right now because it looks like I'm saying it wrong. How is the C and the H and SH, bro?
CAPTCHA.
Why does the American English language work like this? The C and the H is a cha, not a sha. If you want to make it a sha, put the S with the H. Take away the C. What is going on in the English language?
CAPTCHA.
Like, doesn't make any sense, bro. Doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense. You need to go to the home base at Figure AI headquarters and get some software updates. So I went to their previous quarter, HQ. I didn't go to the new one. They have a new one in the Bay Area. Yeah, I would love to visit it. I mean, I think they're really ramping up production. The biggest knock against them is that they can't produce, but if they can produce and they can get this stuff out there into the world, I think the street is going to get more excited about this. Oh, wow. Hold on. We got Mike Johnson talking about the Epstein files. Hold on. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see if we can get any details on this. Here's Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, on the Epstein files.
I know that, and in terms of just whether there's a schism in MAGA world or in the Republican Party, I think the president echoed your comments about any additional documents related to this obsession with the Epstein files. He said it. I think he's saying today basically the same thing you said, that any pertinent things, if the court allows to produce any pertinent grand jury testimony subject to the court approval. And you've said that too. And do you expect that to happen? I mean, how does this play out? It's everywhere. It's, leads to all, Drudge. It's all over the place with, sirens on Drudge. Woo, 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 because someone drew in 2003, might have drawn a picture of a body letter. Before.
I didn't see this tweet. This was at 8 a.m. I didn't see this. Trump said, if there was a smoking gun on Epstein, why didn't the Dems who controlled the files for 4 years and had Garland and Comey in charge use it? Because they had nothing. So Trump tweeted that in the morning.
Or the guy even, all the real info hadn't even been out at that point, I don't think, about this guy.
The president and I talked about that ridiculous allegation this morning. He said it's patently absurd. He's never drawn such a picture. He's never thought of drawing such a picture. And he said, did you see the language of this bogus supposed communication or card or something I supposedly sent to Epstein? He said, I don't talk like that. I don't think like that. They're literally making things up. And he's so frustrated by it. And he's going to wind up, I think, suing some of the media outlets that had put all this out there because they informed them that it was totally contrived. So look, the president is the most maligned and attacked political figure in the history of American politics. There's no question about it, but he's also the most resilient. And you see at the same time, his approval ratings are skyrocketing. By CNN had a story, I think a day or two ago, he was at 90% approval rating. There's never been a president that high. So the more that they attack him, the more the American people see through it.
What could be released and why wasn't it? How do you, I don't know whether you know more information than I do, but what do you think was going on when it looked like something was going to come out then, there's nothing to release? And from a PR standpoint, that was I don't know, that it wasn't great the way it was handled. Is there more to come out? Will it come out?
Are you in favor of it coming out?
I am. Look, I've been on record repeatedly. I've never seen all of the Epstein files. It's outside my lane. I mean, I'm running the House. This is over at DOJ. But what I believe in is maximum transparency, and so does President Trump, and that's what he said. He says it many different ways, many different times, but we want all credible evidence to be put out there for the American people. Reagan used to remind us to trust the American people. They're smarter than anybody gives them credit for, and I believe people can draw their own conclusions about that, but they have to have the documents. Now, at the same time, I think the interest here and the concern and frankly the duty, the responsibility is to protect the innocent, right? So if you have minors who are victims of sex trafficking.
We all know this argument's bullshit. No one's saying to put out child pornography. People are asking for more transparency on everything else. The DOJ has had files for 15 years on this case. Remember, Epstein first got prosecuted back in 2007. That's where he got the sweetheart deal from Alex Acosta to spend 18 months in basically a hotel type of a jail. I mean, no one's asking to see child porn. We're trying to figure out, hey, who was committing it? And that's why the American public, left or right, feel like they're being gaslit about this.
Forbid child predatory activity. You can't have their names out there, right? So the courts and law enforcement.
No one's asking for the names of the victims either. We're trying to figure out who was doing it, not the names of the, like this argument is peak gaslighting. That's not what people want to know. Not at all.
And government agencies have a custom of protecting the innocent, bogus allegations that would be made against people that can't be authenticated, so that's the concern. They're trying to thread that needle because the Department of Justice does have a responsibility to make sure those people's lives are not destroyed. Imagine if their names came out on a list, immediately the media and social media would pounce on these people and it would be lasting and permanent damage. So they got to be very careful. But aside from that, aside from the things that would be, held back from a court of law, I say put it out there. And I think the president believes the same thing.
So, Mr. Speaker, it sounds like there is no daylight right now, the way you're describing it. There is no daylight between what you and the president want released and other Republicans. But there is a portrayal that there is a schism going on in the Republican Party. I mean, Representative Norman sided with Democrats in trying to amend the crypto legislation to force the release of all of the Epstein files. I mean, this is playing out in Congress. And to the extent that this impedes your ability to advance the Republican legislative agenda, how do you repair that rift if it sounds like there is no daylight between what you and the president want released and what other members of Congress want released?
Well, and there's no daylight between us and Ralph Norman. I spent hours with Ralph. He's a dear friend yesterday. What Ralph was trying to do, he told me, he said, honestly, when the Democrat amendment came up, which was in the Rules Committee, not to get too deep in the weeds, but we were working on the rescission package. That was the clawback, fraud, waste, and abuse in federal spending. The Democrats tried to hijack the hearing. So the other Republicans on the Rules Committee did what they're supposed to do, and that is protect our legislative process and get the spending cut bill to the floor. Ralph just kind of made a spontaneous decision. The amendment was kind of dropped in at the very last minute. He hadn't given a lot of thought, but he said, well, I'm for transparency. I'll vote for that. Well, guess what? Every member of the Rules Committee agrees with the same thing. That we all were in a room last night for an hour, all of them, Ralph, Chip Roy, the other members of the Rules Committee, they all agree. And so they signed on to another resolution last night in committee asserting that very thing. So all the House Republicans, I'm telling you, every single one of them here agree with this idea. Everybody wants the Epstein files, which is the real documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and anybody associated with that. We want the American people to see it. We've all committed to that. And everybody's saying it in different ways, but the message is the exact same.
I don't know what he just said for the past 5 minutes, bro. I genuinely have no idea. I don't know if you guys got something from that, but also 90% approval rating for the president's a little aggressive, bro. I mean, his approval ratings are not horrible. This week they took a hit because of the Epstein stuff, but 90%, I don't think we've had that in a pretty long time. But I don't know what the hell that guy just said, bro. What I got from that is that we're not getting these files. We're not getting it. There was a vote yesterday. Republicans blocked it from getting out, probably for all the same reasons. They're going to cite victims, yada, yada, yada. I mean, like, I have no faith we're actually going to get these files. And so there you go. The question is, will the media let up on the story? And again, that Wall Street Journal hit piece yesterday, which, you know, I do think it just doesn't feel real, what they put out yesterday. It just looks very, if not fake, completely manufactured around how they're framing it with this birthday letter from Trump to Epstein. But in general, the question is, when does the media let up on it? Because if every time in like 2027, if Trump's meeting with the Prince of Saudi Arabia and he's taking questions and the people are like, hey, what about the Epstein files? And it's 2 years since they closed the case. I mean, I just don't know how the presidency is going to navigate that if it's a stain on his second term for the next couple of years. But if it's not, then we're just probably never going to see those files. Elon's not going to let this go. Yeah, but Elon, dude, I mean, Elon was tweeting about it a lot last night, but Elon's also, I mean, when they start shipping Optimus, Elon's going to be tweeting about that, right? Like, it's just like, there's just a ton of things that Elon is also, I mean, where's the America Party? Like, Elon, he can flip pretty quick and just move on. So I don't know. I don't know how much Elon really is going to keep harping down on it, but at least this is the moment right now where if they were going to release it, the public pressure is there. And I think Trump's just trying to do as much damage control as possible for it to not get released. The article said Trump sent a letter to Epstein on his birthday and he like drew him some picture. And it is the weirdest thing ever, bro. And a lot of people immediately called BS on it. Like, it just like, even Elon was like, okay, this seems just like, Elon's like, hey, I want the Epstein files out, but this seems kind of stupid. Like, this seems just dumb. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to get these files, but you definitely do have the media trying to pressure the administration. S&P, again, barely red on the day. Microsoft 510, SoFi 2167, Tesla 327. UXRP is a leveraged XRP ETF. It is now trading on Robinhood. It's up 2%. It is now trading on Robinhood. Yeah, a freaking Trump said in the letters, may every day be another wonderful secret. Like, I don't know if we just don't know the real Trump, but I don't think he talks like that. This guy talks like a 2-year-old. What 2-year-old saying may every day be a wonderful secret? Like, what are we like? What? Like, Trump's like, rate cut now. Like, you think 30 years ago he was saying may every day be a wonderful secret? Like, it felt weird, bro. It felt a bit weird. Let's get another update right here on crypto now that we got these bills passed.
It lays out the oversight for all rules for all digital assets, including when they'd be overseen by the CFTC versus the SEC. But the House and the Senate, they're taking different approaches to this crypto oversight. So instead of taking up the House bill, Senators Tim Scott and Cynthia Lummis are planning to release their own bill on market structure. The legislation is expected to diverge on what criteria makes a digital asset a commodity or security. So that's one hurdle that's going to have to be worked out. Another one, because there are also concerns about getting enough Democrats on board to ensure passage. Now, some of those fears were eased yesterday. You saw 78.
Folks, we got Waller. We got Waller. This is the Fed governor. This is something we're going to want to see. The Fed governor, who yesterday wrote an entire article calling for a rate cut in July. Let's see what he has to say. What we're about to watch is him basically campaigning or auditioning to be the next Fed chair.
I was just joking that, you know, if you're walking on a lake and the ice is frozen and it sounds safe, but when you start hearing cracks, and that's what I feel like, it's too late once you go through the ice. So you've got to start prepping in advance before you have that happen.
How do you square that with what we've heard from corporate America so far? What corporate America has told Lisa, sitting down with Scott Kirby of United Airlines, talking about a rebound in the second half. What we've heard from the big banks so far this week. How do you square what you're seeing in the data with what we're hearing from CEOs?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to CEOs, I get the same thing. We're in just hold pattern in terms of certainly the labor market. They're not hiring, they're not firing, they're just watching. And that's kind of what you see in this underlying private sector data. There's not much happening. So it wouldn't take much to sort of tip it. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. I mean, last year we got a couple of weak labor market reports that led us to cut in September, and then everything kind of reversed and went back up. So I'm not saying that couldn't happen again, but it's just we've constantly seen little bits of data continually coming down. The Beige Book yesterday came out. Some other stuff that we get out of the JOLTS, quits rates, hiring rates. These things are not indicating a super healthy private sector labor market.
As you know, you're facing potentially, and I stress potentially, negative supply shocks on both sides of the mandate. I want to sit on the labor market just for one further note. Immigration. How are you thinking about that when you look at a labor market at the moment? When we have people coming on the program, on Bloomberg Surveillance, on Bloomberg TV, every single morning, 6 till 9, coming on here and saying, look at the data, unemployment could stay at these levels, even with job gains of 50 to 100,000 because of tighter immigration. How does that factor into your thinking as you look at the US labor market?
Well, yeah, the labor market doesn't necessarily have to be affected by it, because if workers flow in and they get jobs at roughly the same rate as the existing workers, the unemployment rate doesn't change, even though the labor force is higher. And when they go back out, the same thing happens. If they leave the employment and leave the labor force, you don't see a big change in the inflation rate. Now, it can potentially affect the break-even rate that you would need to have the market going well. And that's what we're still trying to kind of get a sense of, because you basically brought 5 years of immigration forward. And, you know, of that 8 or 9 million, most of them haven't disappeared. So they're still here somewhere. Whether they're going to work, they're not going to work, but they're still here. Where I think the immigration stuff, if immigration was a big factor, you'd be seeing shortages, and you might see some in, you know, some industries. But like I pointed out, that if you look at the new college graduate unemployment rate, it's 7%. It's much higher than it has. These are not jobs that are being opened up because immigrants are not coming in. It should be just the opposite. If immigrants are leaving and these jobs are open, then the unemployment rate should go the other way. So that unemployment rate to me is telling me immigration is not the source of the problem.
Could you guys imagine this guy as the next Fed chair for the next 7 years when we cover the FOMC meetings like 8 times a year? Could you guys imagine us covering this guy, taking all the questions by reporters and navigating the Federal Reserve?
Firms are just holding off on hiring decisions, even if their earnings are doing well. That's just what I'm saying they're doing on the labor side.
I wanted to say there's a mutual friend of ours that feels like he's missing out this morning, so he wanted to catch up with you as well.
He's out in Victor, Idaho.
He's having a good time, isn't he? Mike McKee joins us now. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, John, and good morning, Governor Waller. I would say I'm sorry I'm not there with you, but I bet you're sorry you're not here with me. I know
you got it. I've been there before. It's a nice place.
You've made the case now a couple of times for a July rate cut, but how committed are you? Are you willing to dissent at this meeting if the majority votes the other way?
Well, I never want to commit to an action before the meeting. Otherwise, if everybody committed before, you don't even need to have the meeting, have a discussion. So the goal is to always go to the meeting, sit down, listen to all sides. People will try to convince me of their view. I'll try to convince them of my views. And in the end of the day, you make a decision on what you think is the right outcome and the right data, how the data is coming in. And right now, I laid out my case last night. I don't think I could be any more clear, I hope, as to what my position is and why I think we need to do this. It's just how I read the data and how I think about going forward, how you respond to anything that involves tariffs.
There's a lot of politics in this decision coming up, more than usual. And I'm wondering, Governor Bowman has also suggested she would prefer a rate cut in July. If two of you vote for a rate cut, if two of you were to dissent, would you worry about the market reaction to that?
You know, one of the things that has always bothered me since I took this job is the criticism that we are nothing but groupthink. All the meetings are the same. Nobody dissents. Nobody does anything. And I think this is healthy. I think this is a turning point in the way we want to think about policy. Some people don't want to cut. Some do want to cut. But coming out and making the case either side, that's good, healthy debate. Otherwise, if we're always going to do the same, the joke is, why don't you just have one person set policy and send the other 18 FOMC members home? So this is healthy. I think this is what you want to see in a democracy. You want to see policymakers have serious, open discussion about where policy should go. It doesn't mean anything about politics or anything else. It's make the economic argument and then see if you can convince others to go along with you. And that's all I'm trying to do.
We totally agree with you, for the record. We were sick of the groupthink, and it's good to have dissent.
Yeah.
Mike essentially is asking if you will dissent at the end of this month. Is there value in dissenting on the FOMC?
Well, I mean, it's often the case that you dissent if you make it very clear you think at this moment in time this is an important thing to do. If you were to go in and do kind of a jihadist, I'm going to dissent at every single meeting no matter what happens, then you don't even have to show up. Everybody knows what you're going to do. So it is important to make sure that if you dissent, you do it carefully and you have the right reasons, and it's not going to turn into a serial dissenting potential case. I mean, that's how I take my job seriously and responsibly. So I only would think about doing this. I dissented on the balance sheet slowdown earlier this year because I felt like that was not needed. And that's kind of the situation we're in now.
Chris, if you do cut, the markets will go one way. If you don't, they'll go another, perhaps. How critical is it to get to a rate cut fairly quickly? You've mentioned the danger to the labor market, but if you do wait till September, is that going to be too late?
Well, that's kind of the debate. What does it mean to wait 6 weeks? Is it that critical? And I mean, the answer is probably not. It could be, but it's also the reverse. Why wait till September if it's just 6 weeks? That's exactly the thing. It doesn't kind of matter. Just start thinking about, do I want to?
I agree with him there. I mean, if it's 6 weeks, why would you wait till September? Like, it seems like it's just a procedural reason to wait. And J-Pow even committed, or he said last year, we should have cut in July. He like verbatim said we should have cut in July. That's why they did 50 in September. So granted, I don't think they're going to cut in July, but I do think it makes sense to do the cut.
Wait and risk something happening. This is what we saw last summer, by the way. We left July, we left rates, and then boom, we got a very weak, bad labor market report. The unemployment rate jumped 0.2. Payrolls went way down from where they were, and people were screaming at us last August, you guys should have cut in July. So 1 month it always is 1 month. Just remember that, it's just 1 month. But we live in a world in which we have to respond to real-time data to kind of sense of where the economy is going. And I've always said, if you worry about long and variable lags, which everybody always talks about, the whole point of that is to get ahead of it, not wait for it to happen, and then take a policy action that takes quarters or months down the road to actually have any impact.
The new worry is tariffs. We've just had a 6-minute conversation with you about monetary policy. You've built a case for lower interest rates, and no one's talked about trade or inflation. 2 assumptions in your speech yesterday, and I think they're important assumptions. A large share of tariff increases won't be passed through to consumers. Any increase would fade over the next year or so. What data underpins that conclusion?
Well, one, it's just economic theory. So you put on a tariff, as long as it's a one-time tariff and that's it, that's a one-time price effect. I mean, this is economic theory. You could not get in any serious economic model persistent inflation from that. You would have to cook up some other amplification mechanisms, and that's what people talk about. Wages will start going up and everything will get out of control. You're not seeing that at all. This is just not, those kind of amplification mechanisms or wage price spirals aren't happening. Tariffs are a tax. And in public finance, you learn that you may levy a tax on a firm, but who bears the incidence or the burden of that tax? It can be a group of people or one person, not necessarily the firm. So this is what I've heard from a lot of firms. If there's a 10% tax, they'll force their suppliers to eat some of that cost. Workers may eat some of that cost in terms of less hiring and things like that. The firm will take it out of their profit margins. And then lastly, some of it will get passed on. And as I mentioned last night, I've heard this for months now. Like the rule is 10%, it's roughly Rule of thumb is a third, a third, a third. Suppliers will eat a third, firms will eat a third, consumers going to eat a third of that tariff. So if you eat a third of it and it's 10%, like I've been arguing, this is like 3/10 of a, 3/10 on the inflation rate for a few months. And that's it.
What do you guys think? Is he the next Fed chair? He's just boring, bro. He's just boring. I feel like Trump's going to pick someone who's like not as boring. Like Kevin Warsh on CNBC 2 days ago, he was way more interesting to listen to than this guy. Granted, I don't know if that's the barometer on if that determines if you're a Fed chair or not. What he's saying is not crazy, right? He sounds like a very intelligent guy. It's just, there's no pizzazz, you know? There's no I don't know. Well, then again, this is one of the first times I've seen him, but he does want to cut. By the way, Webull, if you're in it, congrats. It's up 9%. Even if I was still in it, I would not have the ability to get these gains because I had cover calls at 14.50 that were expiring today. So, regardless if I held or if I didn't, I wouldn't have any gains because I broke even when I sold it and I bought Robinhood instead. And those shares that I bought are up 7%, and I collected the covered call premium. So Webull up 9%. Like, I wouldn't have gotten this 9%. I would have broke even. So that is the risk with covered calls. Is like, hey, if it's gonna start flying and you cap your upside, you don't get access to any of that upside. So if you're holding these shares naked, no covered calls, you're up. 1565 right here on Webull. I think the reason Webull's up is because of the crypto reintroduction to the platform they announced yesterday. Granted, I think the brokerage space in general with IBKR is doing very well. So that's probably why Webull is getting some love. Is ABCL moving? ABCL, wow. 15 percentage points on ABCL. That is moving. Is there any headline on this one today? Let me see. Is there any headline or is this just... no, this is just technicals, guys. No, it's pure. There is no press release. No. Is there? Okay, so Jack tweeted this. I'm going to try to get Jack on the deep dive when we do ABCL. He tweeted this. It's not a headline, but it's something he's highlighting from a filing on a patent in page 635. This is why I can't get into these stocks, brother. You got to get so deep into all this freaking medical data and try to understand this stuff because it is a biotech. But I don't think that's the reason it's running. I think it's technicals. I think it's just breaking out. I think ABCL and RXRX moving because ABSI CEO tweeted. Well, you're right. RXRX is moving as well. So you got multiple companies in the same sector running as well. Yeah, but it also could just be technicals as a breakout, dude. I mean, what's the market cap? It's also heavily shorted, right? ABCL, this is like 3 billion market cap. This is 1.3 billion. It's a small cap. And then short interest, let's check right here. Again, I'm not in this name. I know Arnie does like it. He likes it for the long term. 13% short. 13% short. It has not become the open door type of retail phenomena, but could it? I mean, maybe. I mean, if Arnie starts tweeting a lot more about it, it may be. But there's not that big of a community. There's like 3 or 4 people in the community that are actively like tweeting, and even they are not literally, every other hour putting out stuff. But I mean, this is what happens, right? If a stock moves, it gets momentum, you get more people into the story, and then it could have that type of move. MicroStrategy is down, I think, because Bitcoin's taking a breather today. MSTR, yeah, that's down 4%. Again, MSTR, great week, so just can't complain about the week that a lot of these names had if they're down 5% on a Friday. Bitcoin right here, 117. That's down from 120 this morning. So there you go. ABSI CEO tweeted showing hair regrowth results. Okay, is ABCI moving? ABSI? Yeah, that's up 9%. Okay, so it seems like that could be helping the entire sector. ACL up 15, Recursion up 9, Grab up 3, Webull's up 9, and then Hoodie, are we still holding 110? Micron's flat, AMD's down 1.3, Palantir at 153. Wow, Palantir's trying to get back to 154, bro. 153.80. Hoodie is, where are we at? Hoodie is at 110. Still holding 110. Still holding 110. BMNR, is that one moving? I am now holding it today because of some very generous super chats. I own 32 shares of it. BMNR 47.95. That's up 14%. I think my average is, what is my average on this? My average is 45.79. I'm up 5%. I'm up 5%. So there you go. Chris doesn't really have conviction on Webull anymore. I mean, he sold 80% of the position. I don't really know how much he still has in options or stock, but the Yorkville thing really broke it off for him. And so he sold the day after the Yorkville thing came out. I mean, he got out at we basically got at the same price. He got it at 1270, the majority of his position. And then I got out 2 days ago. Now, granted, I think he had like, I don't know if he had six figures, but he had up there. I had $15,000. And so I just took it and put it into Hood. But yeah, he got out of a majority of it. Now, look, here's the thing. If the Yorkville thing is not that big of a deal and this thing runs to 20 and 25, then it's a great story for anyone in it. If the Yorkville thing ends up biting them back in the ass in some way, shape, or form, then, there you go. Now, granted, it's a brokerage and brokerage volumes are high and crypto's coming back. So you can make a pretty easy bull case for them outside of Yorkville. I just personally did not care about Webull. So it's not a position that, was meaningful to me. I'd rather just have Hood. But for those that are heavily in it, I mean, this is the time where you got to ask yourself, hey, is this going to make one of those big moves? And if it is, you got to ask yourself, do you care about staying in the name? But again, see, like even just like doing the math, right? I got out at 1250. If I held on, I would be up from 1450 to 50. I would literally be up $1,000 because I had 1,000 shares if I didn't have any covered calls. Instead, I sold it 1250, broke even because I sold a covered call on Hood, collected 1750 in premium. And then I bought 100 shares of Robinhood at 103. Robinhood's at 110 today. So 110 minus 103 is 7 times 100. I'm up $700 on those shares. And it's in a company I actually care about. And the other thing about this is I wouldn't even have access to that $1,000 of gains, 1550 minus 1450, because I had freaking covered calls at 1450. So to me, it's like, if I had the covered calls on Webull, it would have destroyed any gains, especially if this thing pumps even higher today, which is why I kind of made the move I made. But look, the momentum looks strong. IBKR crushed it. Crypto's coming back. I mean, if it wants to make its move, it feels like it definitely can make a move. Doug says he still has some leaps. They're up 30%. I have bull leaps that are up 30% and are now already at the money. Well, there you go. For those that are holding on it, it is fair. I still think Chris has strong conviction, just waiting for it for the right time to come back in. Yes, that is correct. He does. Chris has conviction on the stock and the company. He just hated Yorkville. So, I mean, if it does give a dip opportunity, maybe he gets back in. Yes, I'm also coping heavy. That is also what I'm doing. Did you buy those calls to close your covered calls? Yes. So I think they were up 60% yesterday. So I paid back the other 40%, and I bought back the calls. Pouncer went green. Are we green, baby? Grabs at 538. Tessie 328. Palantir, there she goes. 154. Dude, freaking Kramer. So can we talk about Kramer? Because I feel like my take on the Tech Bros podcast with Roy and Tanner was actually the correct take on this whole park nonsense that he said. My take, everyone was like, oh, Kramer's bullish on Palantir, Robinhood, AppLove, and Coinbase, therefore we should be bearish. My take was no. This freaking guy is just saying these are his new acronyms so that he can tell you that when they fall, he was right because they're meme stocks. He literally said, this is my meme stock acronym. But when they go up, guess what he tweets this morning? The action in park remains strong. As I said about Palantir at 50, it would go to 100. And when it got to 100, it would go to 150. And when it goes to 150, it would go to 200. It has now gone to 150. So next stop 200. You just can't stop Alex Karp. No one can. He is saying this with all levels of saltiness and what's the right word for this? Condescendingness, if that's the right word. He's being condescending the way he's framing this. He is not it's like when Steve said pound to 150. Steve didn't actually believe that. He was just saying it to say it, right? That's what he's saying. So I think that's actually bullish, because if when Cramer goes bullish, you get bearish. The way Cramer's saying this is not bullish. He doesn't actually think it's going to happen. He's saying it in a meme-ish way. So the opposite of that is that, okay, if you think it's a meme, which means you're technically bearish, we should be bullish. So there you go. That was my way to cope for Cramer, putting this stupid PARC acronym together, including my biggest holdings with Hood and Pounder. I had to find a way to justify that we can still be bearish even if Cramer's doing that. So there you go. Yeah, how else would it get to 200? Exactly. You need Cramer to think it's a meme stock. This is the DD I'm here for. Bro, as soon as I saw that on Monday, everyone was tweeting about it. They're like, oh, this is the worst thing. I'm like, no. This guy, he's not actually bullish. He's not actually bullish, bro. He's treating this as a meme, which is bullish for us because he's technically being bearish. Exactly. It's reverse psychology. I could not let Cramer take my two holdings down. I had to find a way to justify it in a different way. So there you go. There you go. JSL, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate it, JSL. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the Tenti Dolores. Yin Wei, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Thank you for the $10 investing in AK Media before the market pullback, if any, and appreciate your work. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chat. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. You've been very generous this week. You do not have to do that, but deeply appreciate you guys being here every single day. Webull right here up 7%. Pouncer 154. Grab 538. AMD that's down about 1.2. And then Hoodie 110. All right, guys. Do we do a year to date right now to end out the stream, or do we wait till market close? What do you think? Do we wait till market close, end out the Friday for year to dates, or do we do it right now in case the market tanks by the end of the close, or maybe the market pumps by the end of the close? I think we wait, right? I think we wait. Let's wait. I think it makes sense. Let's wait. Dude, my year to date on Monday is like 30% different than my year to date on Friday. And that is wild. That is wild. And I'm sure it's very similar for a lot of you guys, especially if you're, heavy in some of these names AMD, massive move. Robinhood, massive move. SoFi, massive move. Pounder, massive move. Grab, not as massive, but still for how Grab has been performing, very strong move. ABCL, massive move. Tesla still, dude, it was at like 300 on Monday. Massive move. Bitcoin, Ethereum, massive move. The treasuries, depending on when you got into them, pretty good move. Freaking open door, big move. Microsoft, all-time highs. NVIDIA, 174. I mean, if you're leveraged against any of these names, or just not even leveraged, if you're in these names, pew. That one, horrible move, but that's up 3% today. That one did not help, but still, it's just this week was one of those weeks for everyone's portfolio. And even Google had a pretty good week, breaking above 185. So not bad. All right, so we'll wait till the close. And then we'll do the year to dates. All right, folks, that is it. I think that's it for me. It's almost 12 p.m. We are done for the day, or at least done for the morning. We'll be back in the afternoon and keep going. We'll keep going. 3:45 on the market close. I think Steve will be on today. So usually he's on every Friday. So we'll have him on. And yeah, we'll see how we end out the third week of Q3. But what a week, dude. Vlad's on CNBC at 1 p.m. Oh, perfect. Vlad's going to get on CNBC. He's gonna come in with his swagger, with his aura, with his, hey, saw the market cap today, 100 billion type of energy. It's going to talk up some good game on tokenization. I mean, that'll be fun. I probably won't be live for Trump's executive orders, but we'll cover it on the close. But that's going to be at 2:30, probably going to start at 3 p.m. Maybe if it starts like 3:15, I'll start early, but we'll cover it on the close when we get into it. All right, cool. Word of the day. Let's do that, and then we'll be out of here. Thank you, everybody, for joining again. Word of the day is Obi.
Obi.
A long, broad sash tied about the waist over a Japanese kimono. Obi. Okay, let's see what this looks like. I've never seen this before. Oh, I've seen this. I've seen this before. Yeah. Obi. There you go. Obi kimono. Let's see if we have a different word of the day. This one's, let's try something else. This one's like just a thing we can't really use in a sentence too well. Okay, this one is meritorious. I think this comes from meritocracy.
Meritorious.
Meritorious is a formal objective used to describe something that is deserving of honor, praise, or esteem. Look, I think the world is built on meritocracy. The markets are definitely built on meritocracy. And the beautiful thing about the markets is it's your fault if you win. It's your fault if you lose. I mean, that is the most humbling aspect. It's like chess, right? Oh, I was playing chess against someone 2 days ago. I told you guys I went to my mom's friend's like family dinner thing. And they had chess, and I was playing against someone, and I had a pretty good checkmate. And you're granted, I'm not that good at chess. That other person was probably worse than me, but still, like whenever you have a checkmate, it's just like there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. Your king can't go anywhere. You're done. And so when you buy a hood at 20 and it's at 110, like it could go down obviously, but you know it's probably not going to go all the way back to 20. Like it's just given how the company's changed. You won. You beat the game. You beat the freaking game. And so the beautiful thing about the markets as a meritocracy is like if Hood doesn't perform, you don't win and you lose, and you have to deal with the pain of not outperforming. But if it does, you get the gains of it, and it's all on you. It's on no one else. It's not on me, even if I introduce some names to everybody. It's not on your mom or your dad or some random video you watched. It is you for pulling the trigger, and that is the most humbling parts about the market. And on a week like this, you know, it definitely keeps you grateful for the fact that A, we have the community to have the support to be here, but B, that you took the risk yourself and allocated capital. And it's one of the most exciting things about the market. JL says, I just flipped the chessboard before the check. That's also something you can do. That's also something you can do. So there you go. All right. That's it for me. That's it. Bro, I thought you were rapping, LOL, waiting to call you. Do you want to just call me now, Tanner? Do we want to keep the stream going? Or no, I'll call you. Tanner, I'll call you right after. All right, good folks. I'm out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Heavy on the avocado. Thank you for the $50 super chat. By the way, I kept Tanner alive for too long last night. For those, if you didn't watch Tanner's live stream yesterday on his FinTech Frenzy, first of all, he invited Steve, and then he invited me, and then he invited Chris. So he invited us. And then at 11:20, he's like, all right, guys, it's time to wrap it up. And I'm like, whoa. You got 800 people here. You invited us, and now you're telling us to get the hell out? No, we're staying till 12. We kept them to like 11:50. But if you guys want a little bit of entertainment, those last 20 minutes, they were we started asking Tanner about a bunch of stuff. He was like, guys, I don't know what to talk about. This like, yeah, but it's Tanner After Dark, so let's talk about it. So it was dude, he was cringing so hard. He was like, I don't know how to speak about these topics. We're like, Tanner, don't worry. It's a safe spot. So shout out to Tanner. All right, guys, I'm out. We'll be back on the market close. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Heavy on the avocado. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Appreciate you guys. The super chats were a lot today. Really, really means the world. And just appreciate being here every single day to do this for everybody. We'll be back on the market close. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.